now, and we are here to advance the campaign against Smithfield Foods. So Smithfield is a huge conglomerate in the animal agriculture space, and they are responsible for the death on the books of over 21 million pigs every single year. And that's 21 million pigs that are, on the books. That doesn't count every single animal that doesn't make its way through the food supply chain and is found in Smithfield's dumpsters and all other, horrible places on their facility. You can probably drive over that, realistically. I would drive over that. By dint of just what Smithfield does, with abuse comes more abuse. It's kind of, the whole adage of a small lie just turns into a bigger lie. And when you have a company that is literally killing tens of millions of pigs every single year, there are other issues that arise. And one of them is that there's so much waste that is produced by so many animals that are living in confinement. So we're driving right now, so we're having a little bit of a car situation. Hold on with me for just a second. Do you want to maybe back it up a little bit? And I think since we're in this kind of vehicle, we can probably make it over that. Or you can just back up all the way and then turn around that way. Sorry about that. So with the puzzle of having so many animals that are bred for effectively murder, there are these huge lagoons that pile up feces and waste and other kinds of effluent on Smithfield's factory farms, and they have had to ask the question of what to do with this puzzle of so much excrement to get rid of. And since the 1970s, Smithfield has been over and over again challenged for their illegal spreading of this waste material into public waterways, into the air, creating both Clean Water Act violations and other actions that have been contended against by various municipalities, including right now. They both have and are in the middle of litigation being litigated against by over 500 plaintiffs across 29 cases for literally taking all of this waste, putting it into huge fertilizer systems and spraying it on fields, literally creating shit fields. And if you can kind of think, where do they get away with doing this kind of thing? And it's in poor and impoverished neighborhoods where people don't have as much political power, they don't have the know-how to fight it back, but they are fighting it back right now. But what has happened, and the reason why they're fighting it back, is with spraying all of this horrible substance across, these huge fields by people's homes, even onto people's homes. They've borne out of that serious illnesses, respiratory illnesses, and just horrible stench and a tremendously reduced state of well-being for all of these people and all of these families that are affected by Smithfield communities. So that is literally kind of the best way to look at the animal agriculture industry as a whole. It's a corrupt foundation that just leads to more and more corruption, more and more suffering. Now, I think something that's interesting to note is that it's not just the people that are having shit sprayed on them that are affected by, and these rural communities that are affected by Smithfield, but it's also all of the employees. Smithfield is the employer of over 40,000 employees, and I would contend that, hold on just a second. A little sideways on you guys. So Smithfield is an employer of over 40,000 people, and I would argue that probably 90% plus are folks that are, again, impoverished and working in horrible conditions around these factory farms and suffering by the smell. But in the instance of coronavirus right now and COVID, they've actually been, just not prioritized at all by this corporation and are put in confined spaces and are contracting some of the highest rates of COVID throughout the country. So what we're doing today, which I think is probably the first time that this has ever been done, definitely in DxE history, but probably in animal rights activism everywhere, is that we are actually bringing the shit from a Smithfield facility. So some folks went to a facility and got a 55-gallon barrel full of pig excrement, and they are bringing that to a executive's place of residence right now to spread the waste and ask him how he genuinely feels about doing this in his community, around his neighbors, and if this is something that they support. So hold on one second. I think we're getting pretty close here, so we're just trying to navigate our way to the property. Is there anything that you want to say?
Yeah, so we're just returning Smithfield property to its rightful owner. If it's fine to dump this stuff into communities and to poison the land and the water of communities, especially communities of color, then that's fine. We're just going to return it, and there shouldn't be any problem with that, right? If this stuff is perfectly safe and perfectly fine, there shouldn't be any problem returning it to its rightful owner. This is property of Smithfield, returning it to the Smithfield CEO.
It's really that simple, and I think there's a quote from Smithfield. I'm actually going to share that to you guys in just a second because we're about to jump out of the car here. All right, everyone. So I'm pulling up on this on the house right now. So if anyone's just joining me, give me just a moment. All right, everyone. So hi, if you're just joining us here, this is Cameron with Direct Action Everywhere. And behind me is the home of Ken Sullivan. Ken Sullivan is the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer of Smithfield Foods, the animal agriculture conglomerate that employs over 40,000 people and kills 20, if not tens of millions of more pigs every single year. Now, one way that Smithfield's abuses just kind of continue and percolate throughout their business management is what they do with all of the waste that is created inside of Smithfield facilities. So what they have been doing literally since the 70s is taking pig excrement, illegally dumping it into various waterways, getting fines, but continuing to do that, being fined by government agencies. And as of the last decade, they've been actually taking all of this shit and putting it in these huge fertilizer systems, bringing it to fields and spraying it in impoverished communities to the extent of it getting on their homes, affecting their well-being beyond what I can personally even imagine. And right now are being litigated against by over 500 plaintiffs across 29 cases for their just basic human rights violations, environmental violations. Now, Smithfield came out with a statement after they were being told that they're being sued and actually losing the case and appealing, saying that the poor folks in these rural North Carolina communities are abusing the legal system. They're actually claiming that these poor folks are abusing the legal system, even though it's Smithfield that's harming their way of life, which is just hilarious. So what we're doing is we're seeing if that is actually a good faith statement, if that's something that we can, genuinely trust and see, are the words that come out of Smithfield, are they things that can be trusted? Are they kind of a company that we can read what they say and read their tailored press statements, and is it something they can trust? So our test today is actually bringing excrement from one of Smithfield's factory farms, and we're actually having you hold one hand, you hold the banner with one hand. Okay, sure. Yeah, sure. Yep. So it's basically kind of the test that we're doing today is if they stay true to their word, if they think that spraying excrement from their factory farms onto people's residences today, Ken Sullivan's home, the CEO of Smithfield, is something that they are generally in support of and moral support of. If basically they're comfortable with it being done to themselves as if they've been doing it to others. So hold on just a second right here. Why don't you two scoot that way? Yeah. 5 feet. Yeah, keep good attention. All right, so there's a few of us over here. 5 feet that way. 5 feet that way. Walk over towards me. That way. There we go. That's good. That's good. Right so right here, I'm going to try to kind of get an angle for you guys. Look at me. Yeah, cool. Yeah, just look. You can look at like kind of all. So this banner right here, it says "Shame on SHITfield." We are officially rebranding Smithfield into SHITfield. I'm already used to calling them SHITfield. And there's a photo that I can bring right down here. Now that's an actual photo of a shit sprayer that SHITfield is spraying onto impoverished communities. And then behind me is Raven, and she is spraying shit onto the CEO Ken Sullivan's home. This is real shit. Now you guys obviously can't smell it, but what is coming out of the hose right now is feces from one of Smithfield's facilities.
Cam, look over here. Put your mask on, Cam. Just for a second. Look over here. Okay. Nice. Okay, that's great.
So we still, if anyone's just joining us right now, we are at Ken Sullivan, the CEO of SHITfield's property. And behind me is Raven with a 55-gallon barrel of pig feces that's collected from one of SHITfield's factory farms. And she has a hose that is spraying shit on his property.
You can do whatever.
Okay, thanks. So right now she is spraying shit onto his property, begging the question of, can they be true to their word? Is it accurate, and are their press statements honest? Do what they say is acceptable, what they do to not only animals but to people and to the environment? If it's done on their front lawn, is this something that they truly condone and truly something that they hold as authentic and honest? So we're going to kind of see, and I think it's going to be really telling probably in the next couple hours what kind of statement and what kind of response we get from SHITfield. Because if they come out here and they say, oh, this is horrible, you're doing something that's unsafe to our home, you're on our property, I mean, it goes right in the face of everything that they are defending in the court of law, saying that what they do to rural communities, what they do to animals, what they do to animals is acceptable. So I mean, this whatever their statement is going to either kind of open the floodgates of either hypocrisy or maybe they're true to their word and they think that spraying shit everywhere is something that's absolutely acceptable. Or maybe they actually say that, hey, when you see it in first person and when it comes to our home, then maybe it's something that we should reconsider, because our morals probably aren't really aligned. And I would contend that, if they were honest, that's the position that they'd be in. Raven, was used up. Yeah, absolutely. And hey, why don't we get some folks holding this up real quick? Yep. So, hey, everyone, this is Cameron with Direct Action Everywhere. And right behind me, I'm at CEO of Smithfield Foods, a massive animal agriculture conglomerate, CEO's home, Kenneth Sullivan. So what we're doing, first of all, if you guys don't know, Smithfield Foods is responsible for killing over 20 million animals. Now that's 20 million pigs that are on the books. That's how many make it to the actual food supply chain. But they kill, arguably 10 or maybe more million animals every single year in their dumpsters that are just lost within their factory farms. And now with abuse just comes more abuse. It's kind of the whole thing of a small lie just turns into a bigger lie. And with so many animals that are raised and confined on their facilities, they have this massive problem of what to do with just, gallons. I don't even know what kind of measurement I would say to describe it, but tremendous amounts of fecal matter, effluent, and animal waste and blood and diarrhea and all this horrible stuff. So a solution that they have apparently found adequate since the 1970s has been disposing of this waste in public waterways. That's resulted in them getting, many, many fines by various state governments. Now, more recently, and when I say more recently, within, about the last decade, they have started putting shit into these massive fertilizer systems that spray shit onto fields, and they sell it as fertilizer. And that's why we're rebranding Smithfield as SHITfield. Now, recently, over 500 plaintiffs have have come forward and are suing Smithfield across 29 cases, saying that, you know, spraying shit on our literal homes, spraying shit in our communities, creating inhospitable environments for us to live in is a human rights violation. It's an environmental violation, and it's literally one of the worst things that you can do. It's just an escalation of horrible turning into, you know, just horrid and horrific. So what we've done is we've brought 55 gallons of feces from one of Smithfield's factory farms, and it's right behind me here in this caution taped barrel.
12,000 viewers right
and
now.
a few moments ago, we so Raven right here, who's behind me in the biohazard suit, she had a hose and she sprayed the entire 55 gallons of shit from a Smithfield facility onto Kenneth Sullivan, CEO of Smithfield Foods, lawn. And we're basically begging the question. We're begging the question of, can these corporations be trusted? Can their guys and their public statements be trusted? Because their response, one second real quick, their response was, you know what, it's actually the poor folks that are abusing legal power by suing them. And we're saying, well, let's see if you guys can really stand and stay true to that. Are you going to stay silent? Are you comfortable with people coming to your yard to spray shit? And I don't think that they are. And that's literally the kind of ideology that that, you know, their entire ideology will collapse, and every public statement they have will collapse.
I think you can talk to Raven. Just your shot. Just get the banner and then the barrel in your shot, and you can point it to go the other.
Yep. That's a good idea. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip this around for y'all real quick.
So yeah, I would just talk to Raven. Raven.
So Raven right here, she is the person who's had just a more in-depth involvement with Smithfield, and she was the one that sprayed the feces on Kenneth Sullivan's lawn. Is there anything that you want to say to folks right now?
Yeah, I wish other people could smell it, and I mean, I was so scared about getting it anywhere near my face because it is just awful stuff. And the fact that there's lagoons of this, swimming pools full of this stuff in some of our communities, like this is just, it's so irresponsible. And part of the Smithfield logo is they do things responsibly, but how responsible is it to poison communities and pollute the earth, let alone what they're doing to animals and workers? Everything Smithfield does is bad for our society. Everything is bad. And just here at this beautiful home, you wouldn't know that someone here is responsible for so much suffering. You just wouldn't know it. So we're hoping that maybe Ken Sullivan will come outside. We're doubtful, but I hope he can smell what he's doing to our communities, because if he could smell it, if he could come up here and see us, then he probably would have a change of heart. So that's why we're here. We just want to bring attention to what Smithfield is doing. And part of what I've been involved with is exposing what Smithfield is doing to animals and following them on their journey to the slaughterhouse from Smithfield Circle 4 in Utah, where there's over 450 football fields full of this stuff in the communities, hidden in the desert near Cedar City. So, you know, I followed them from the pigs on their journey to the slaughterhouse to see what happens to them. And they're the poor things. They're so sick. They're so ill when they get there. Many of them don't even make it that far. And we found dead pigs at Circle 4. We find dead pigs on the transport trucks. We find dead pigs at the slaughterhouse. This is full of disease. There's nothing good about this company. And that's why we're naming them SHITfield. They literally produce fields of shit in communities. They're literally poisoning our earth. So we just want to be here to raise that awareness for them.
And then real quick, they're watching this, and if they share a concern and an agreement that they probably, you know, SHITfield really is just a corporation that shouldn't exist in a modern world. Is there a way that people online can support us?
Yeah, if you go to DxE.io/tweet_Smithfield, I believe it is, then you can tweet at Smithfield and let them know how you feel about what they're doing. All of this is for profit. This person has millions of dollars. They could easily do something else. They could easily use their power in Smithfield to put the company in a different direction. But every time we've asked them to do the right thing, they just come out with some sort of press speak, and you can't trust them. You can, everything they do is hidden away. And if you try to expose it, they come after you. They come after activists like us who are just here to expose it. We have nothing to gain except sharing the truth. So if you can go to DxE.io/tweet_Smithfield, then you can just let the company know what you think.
Yeah. So DxE.io/tweet tweet Smithfield, everything's ready to go. It's really, really easy. All the hashtags are there. Shame on Smithfield, targeting them directly to show that, you know, not only the folks within the company, but also news and everyone that's following on Twitter really sees that the community as a whole and really the nation as a whole is just utterly disheveled by this company. And in terms of the ways that they treat animals, the utter neglect for life on this planet, the ways that they treat people within their slaughterhouses, within their factory farms, and the way that they treat folks that you know are even in the neighborhoods of these communities. I mean, it's just a litany of suffering everywhere that's created by this corporation, and it's together that we hold these companies accountable and bring attention to them.
We have someone over here very curious. They might be one of the neighbors, and they probably have no idea who's here or what they're responsible for. I'd love to be able to talk to that person so they know what this person is responsible for. So I've got to speak up because I've got to wear this face shield because this stuff is toxic. This stuff is awful stuff. It doesn't belong anywhere. We imagine if we just had a company that produced this stuff and this is all they did. Can you imagine that company existed? Like, communities would be taking them out, but this is a multi-billion-dollar corporation, and they have the resources to suppress communities, to suppress whistleblowers, to suppress everyone in their way, because all they do is exploitation for profit. Any opportunity they see to exploit someone, they don't even care about the law. Smithfield has been repeatedly fined and cited, and there are over 500 plaintiffs now in 29 cases just in North Carolina of places that they have been found guilty of poisoning communities. They've had to pay billions of dollars in restitution for the harm that they've done. But we want to make a statement that also government doesn't belong funding these companies. The only reason this company can do what they do is because of subsidies in the Farm Bill. And the only way that this company can exist is because they get that money. So they, at every turn, they're just looking for money, and they don't care who's in their way. So I'm hoping this person can learn what's going on here, who this person is responsible for. They could do anything. They could do so many things to change what they're doing, to make it better for communities, to make it better for workers. But all you see is their PR speak. They say they're doing one thing, and we find out they're doing another because they won't show people the truth. The entire company only exists by hiding the truth from people, and we think that is wrong. People deserve to know the truth. If they knew the truth, if politicians knew the truth, if politicians would stand up to this company and not accept their billions of dollars, then we would have a different system. We wouldn't have a system built on exploitation, on profiting off of the death of others. Workers getting COVID. Look how long it took them to do anything at all. And now what they're doing, they don't care if people are dying. They had our president sign this thing that indemnifies them if workers get sick and die. And that's like, it's the whole thing is ridiculous. Why are we doing this? It doesn't make sense.
Hold on just 1 second.
I'm a chat. I got it.
And I think you brought up a really important point about the coronavirus and the ways that COVID has spread so prolifically inside of, pretty much as big ag slaughterhouses is really where it's festered, especially Smithfield. And Smithfield actually initially, you can look back at a BuzzFeed article, but they made a statement saying that the reason why coronavirus was found all inside of their slaughterhouses is because of, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's because of the type of people that work inside of their facilities, which are predominantly minority and just underprivileged people. And they just live a different kind of culture. And in that different kind of culture, then, they're more prone to getting ill and stuff like that, which is just an utter deflection of a multi-billion-dollar corporation pointing the finger at a few of the folks that they literally have entrapped into not, being able to do anything else in their life other than work in horrible conditions for minimum wage, and say that it's really their lifestyle that is the issue. It's not the culture and the practice of killing millions and millions of innocent beings, destroying the earth, and it's the people's fault. So that's just another example of what Smithfield has said. And recently, they have had just an elevation of their political lobbying power by first of all getting slaughterhouses to stay open, but for the reason that it's an essential business, and getting their factory farms to stay open because it's an essential business. And their way of describing it is by saying, well, they're in the protein sector, and that they provide protein to the people, and it's this utterly simplistic um, just reduction of everything they do to protein. This bizarre focus on this one macronutrient that we obviously need, that there's a million ways to get it from, and saying, oh, we can stay open, we can compromise the health of our employees and of people around the globe. We can completely forget about all of the 20, 30, over the years, maybe hundreds or billions of animals' lives that are just swept away by the Smithfield chain, and say it's just because we need these amino acids from the specific source. And it's through this narration and this power that they've continued to exist, and that people see these beautiful press statements and they say, oh, you know what, maybe they are caring, maybe they do have my best interest in mind, when at the end of the day you just kind of start to peel away the layers of what are they actually doing, why are their farms so hidden, why is it impossible to even find someone like Ken Sullivan on Facebook and see, oh, what is a post, what would he say, what are his interests. My screen went black. I don't know if you can see me. Oh, I think it's back. But these folks, in terms of what they truly stand for, is utterly hidden behind these beautiful press statements. And that's why folks within DxE and animal rights organizations for hundreds, if not longer, have been risking their lives, challenging their social status and all sorts of things like that, just to unearth and bring some sort of perspective of what really happens and what is there behind the veil of a beautiful logo and a logo that says good food produced responsibly. And that's what folks at DxE have done. So I think folks now have been into countless Smithfield facilities across the country and have seen firsthand just the real and utterly horrible suffering that happens for all of the animals inside of these facilities, the tens of millions of beings that are stuck. And what they did and what they've done is they've taken action. We've rescued animals from these farms. We've shown up. We've sent emails. We've tweeted. We've tried to get in contact with them, saying a dialogue is the minimum of what is needed to be able to address what's here, because we share the same planet, and we should have some say in saying that XYZ that's happening is wrong. And Smithfield hides. Instead, Smithfield chooses to prosecute any folks that show footage, imagery, any kind of investigative documentary information about their company, and they go after them with their essentially unlimited legal budget. And at the same time, they will claim that people that are having actual shit sprayed from their facilities on their homes, going after them for human rights violations, are abusing the legal system. And if that's not the epitome of hypocrisy and just exemplary of how distrusted a corporation like this is, I don't really know what there is. And to be honest, we don't necessarily have the biggest ask from a company like this, because we've tried so much, and conversations are something that's always on the table. But right now, what we have is we can't get a comment from a couple folks here, but we know that there's thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people that are also upset about Smithfield. They're upset because of what they do to their communities. They're upset because what they do to their friends and their family members, and they're upset because of what they do to the fellow earthlings that we live on the planet with. And that's why we can use your help to just go and share this live stream. We created a hyperlink called DxE.io/tweet Smithfield, DxE.io/tweet Smithfield. And it just makes it really, really easy to go after and target and talk about or on Twitter and tweet directly at Smithfield and use the hashtag SHITfield. So shame on hashtag SHITfield. Now, just behind me, it might get a little interesting here. We just had a police officer come and park in his driveway. So I'm going to go ahead and just flip the camera around real quick. And I actually might hand this over to you. Oh. Hey, how are you?
Yeah, I can speak to you. We're having to speak with the police officers, but we have a press release right there. You can look at that as more information on it. The link is blue there. And other than that, you can back to the yeah, you can all the information you need is on the press release there that has all the information, but we don't really want to be discussing further too much with police about our activities. I can tell you what's happening here. This is the home of CEO of Smithfield Foods, Ken Sullivan, and he is so Smithfield is the largest so-called pork producer in the country, and they spray literal shit feces all over up into the air, and it goes all over communities, local communities, poor people disproportionately, black people disproportionately, and he's getting fabulously wealthy off of it, in addition to torturing animals, in addition to exploiting workers. And so this is that's what brings us here today. And so we did a demonstration. Actually, before you got here, there was some activities as well. Okay. So that's the information that you'll that's on that press release there. Okay. All right. Well, obviously he wants to talk to me, so. Yeah. No. Well, we would love to speak with him if he wanted to come out here, but I have a feeling he's going to. He's going to hide. Well, he doesn't speak with pretty much anybody, even though he's very well. I'll relay the message to him.
We're utterly open to it, though. If you would like to have a conversation, a civil dialogue, with the camera, without a camera, it's on the table and eagerly on the table.
So was it Ken Sullivan that called in the complaint? Soon. Okay. It just said come to the Fed first. Yeah. So probably not that. It could have been that guy over there. Yeah, it could have been anybody. Okay.
Either way, thank you. All right, so that was a pretty smooth police interaction right there. Is there anything else that you would like to maybe add or kind of explain for maybe, some folks probably jumping in right now and just joining?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that SHITfield uses terms to make people reconsider what
Let me get that in the background.
So, for example, they say good food. They don't say good bodies, good dead bodies, the flesh of bodies, decomposing bodies. They don't use that kind of terminology. And why not? If it's okay and it's the truth, then why not say that? Just like they call this like effluent, or they use other terms for it besides shit, and that's exactly what it is. It's shit, it's blood, it's urine, it's all of the things that come through the floors of all of the victims who are confined, and their wounds and their bodily excretions all come through the slats in the floor after they've been covered in it because they never get let outside. And it ends up in these giant lagoons, 450 football fields full in Utah alone. And I just think they should tell the truth. They should be honest with people, stop with the marketing, stop with the PR, tell people the truth, tell people directly what this stuff is, what they're doing, and then people can make an honest decision whether or not they support it. And because they know people don't support it, they have to use all these marketing techniques and other kind of language to convince people, oh, this is good, just listen to us, trust us, we're great. Well, they're not. If you go see any Smithfield facility, you find suffering, you find workers getting ill, workers getting injured, workers treated badly. Go to any farm, you see animals, victims being treated badly, suffering, being denied medical care, dying from diseases they don't even know anything about. And you just look at every corner of Smithfield is the truth is different than what they tell you. They hide everything behind a facade. You look at the buildings, it's a facade. This building is a facade. You got to look at the truth and see what they're actually doing.
Absolutely. So, the police officer just went up to the door of Kenneth Sullivan's home here in Virginia and knocked. And it doesn't seem like anyone opened the door, but it looks like he's waiting to have a conversation with us.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it is a 50 gallon.
Yeah. So if anyone's just joining, we're here at Kenneth Sullivan's home in Richmond, Virginia right now. Ken is the CEO, Chief Executive Officer of Smithfield Foods. The CEO of Smithfield Foods, the massive animal agriculture conglomerate that's responsible for killing 20 million pigs a year. And I think, the kind of interest that Direct Action Everywhere has taken in Smithfield Foods initially has been just going directly to the facilities where they raise these animals and documenting and filming and seeing just how utterly sad. I mean, it's sad and it's frustrating and it's infuriating to see what these animals endure for their short 6 months of life inside of these farms, and opening dumpsters and seeing just stacks and stacks of baby piglets and, adult bodies that, never there's never an interest of any kind of medical care for them. They were just seen as a product. And at the end of the day, just literally a couple dollars of bottom line for this corporation and someone like Ken and the other executives here. So, that's kind of been the interest is just looking at these huge industries that are, gold plated on the front cover, that have just tremendous amount of secrets underneath the surface. And one of those is that they have this puzzle of what to do with so much animal waste. And one of the answers for that has been disposal of that waste in public waters, and even literally spraying it in communities where people are generally, just trapped, they can't leave, and spraying it on fields, getting it on people's homes where people suffer from respiratory illnesses, and I'm sure just a tremendous amount of suffering and other illnesses that go undocumented. So behind me are just two police officers, and we spoke with one of them. He went up to the door to try to talk with Ken, but no one opened the door, and they just kind of look a little befuddled, and they're not super sure what to do. So our intention is just to stay here and continue talking with y'all, and hopefully having as many people that are on this live stream as possible help out by sharing the horrid truth of SHITfield by going to DxE.io/tweet Smithfield, DxE.io/tweet Smithfield, and it just makes it really, really easy to spread the message on Twitter about Smithfield. You can also share this on Facebook by just something as simple as shame on #SHITfield, so that we can get as wide and large of an audience to unite on this case. And I think that there is a tremendous case for seriously so many different people with different interests to want to join this campaign and take interest in SHITfield, because they don't affect just animals, but they affect workers, and they affect the environment, and so many different directions that impact us all. So police officer 1 appears to have left. Not appears, they have left. And there is a second police officer here who just kind of seems to be waiting off in the distance, maybe waiting for some other commands. We're not really sure, but they're just kind of lingering around. And who knows, like Smithfield and all these meatpacking plants have really been in the media to such a large extent for the last 4 or 5 months that maybe they've turned on the TV and they kind of share an interest and share a passion that this company and that these industries are wrong, and they are doing something wrong. And although they have a chain of command to follow, maybe they personally have some sort of conviction that these corporations, if they won't change, they need to shut down, and people are righteous, if anything, to take action and speak up against them. Right here is our banner that says "Shame on Shit." The press release is DxE.io/SHITfield, where you can kind of read a little bit more about this specific action. But the main ask that we have from everyone is going to DxE.io/tweet Smithfield. So for this one, it's Smithfield, not SHITfield, and just going ahead and sharing this all over Twitter. Yeah.
Hi, I'm not sure if you can hear me or see me because this face shield makes it very difficult.
Have it face you or
yeah,
face you?
do that. Yeah, that's good. Hi, so okay, now that's working. So I just want to show you inside. This is a barrel of Smithfield's property, Smithfield, that dumps it in our communities, and they think it's okay. I just want to show you like what it is. I don't know if you can see this, but that is shit. That is shit. that Smithfield sprays in our community, and now it's sprayed on their property. So I just want everyone to know, if that's okay, then nothing we've done here is wrong, right? But if it's not okay, then Smithfield, what we've done here is exactly what Smithfield has done everywhere else. And we don't think that's okay. We don't think they should be getting away with this. We don't think they should be treating workers like they're throwaways. We don't think they should be treating animals like they're disposable. All living beings deserve respect. All living beings deserve to be treated well. And what Smithfield is doing is exploiting off living beings, human and otherwise, to make money. And they'll do it as long as they can, as long as the laws aren't written to protect victims like workers and animals and communities where they're doing this. They'll keep doing it just to make money. So that's all I wanted to say.
So right here is the banner that says "Shame on SHITfield," which is the official rebranding of the prior Smithfield, which just wasn't, particularly an accurate name, unless like maybe there was just a predominantly, all the people there were just named Smith. They had Senior Smith, Executive Smith, but that just doesn't seem the case. So there's a whole lot more shit on their facilities than actual Smiths. So more fitting is SHITfield right here. And the reason why,
Look what that says. Respect their lawn. I'd love to respect your lawn if you'll start respecting communities. Like you should. If you want us to respect your lawn, then why is it okay to do what Smithfield is doing for our communities? Like, yeah, you're right. Everyone wants respect. Everyone wants respect for their community. So why don't you show us what it means to respect community? And then your lawn will be respected too. I just want to show, I don't know if people can see.
Yeah.
Can people see this way?
Yeah.
This is just an example of what Smithfield does. This is a mural painted on Farmer John's slaughterhouse, which is owned by Smithfield. And it's a mural. It's a beautiful mural of a mother and her baby. Right? It's really pretty. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, you can see it. There's probably a lot of folks that are in the Los Angeles area that have been there or even don't even know there's a slaughterhouse that kills 10 million pigs every day.
This is what Smithfield wants you to think is happening. They will use pretty pictures and murals and marketing speak to convince you that they're a good company. But this is actually what they're doing. This is how they treat mothers and their babies. They throw them away like trash. They are lying to people. We deserve to know the truth. We all share this world together, and we deserve to be told the truth. Everyone does. And if people knew the truth, I don't think Smithfield would be allowed to do what they do anymore. They would be legal. CEOs like Ken Sullivan would be in jail. They would be found for polluting, as they already have been in North Carolina. They would be found to be causing animal cruelty, and they'd be put in jail as animal abusers. They would be put in jail for abusing and killing workers through their negligence. So I just want Smithfield to tell the truth. It's really easy.
Some folks say that, a photo like that is like an isolated event. Looks like you have a couple other photos there.
Well, this isn't an isolated event at all, but neither is this. You can go to Utah, go to Circle 4 Farms outside Minersville, Utah, and I welcome anyone to make a road trip out there. Utah is a beautiful place until Smithfield got there. So Smithfield owns Circle 4 Farms, which has 450 football fields worth of lagoons like this, like the shit that is here now.
450 of those?
450 football fields worth of shit. So they hide this stuff away in poor communities like Minersville, like near Cedar City, like outside St. George, Utah. And They think that's okay. They think those communities aren't powerful enough to do anything else. They're at the whim of Smithfield. Smithfield basically owns that area.
And I want to say too, you know, it's, I think a really good resource for people to kind of see, like is it us as activists that are kind of, you know, saying that, oh, this is one pool or lagoon or something like that, or is this reality? There's a really incredible site that just came out called Counterglow, and anyone can go to that, and it's this just budding map of factory farms and sites of animal abuse throughout the entire country. And you can look through an aerial footage and just find how densely populated these farms are, but also how hidden they are. Even though we travel around the U.S., we don't see them. We go through cities, but we don't see them. And these animals are just unseen, and these situations are unseen.
That's right.
Across the globe.
And that's like, I could see what you're doing there. So I actually made a short documentary. It's only 10 minutes long, and I risked my safety to try to expose just some of what happens to the victims of Smithfield, in this case, pig victims. This is just one of the victims of Smithfield, hidden away in a dark shed, where they are treated like a machine. They're treated like an object to produce babies for them, which they can then take those babies to kill them for money. So if you go to DxE.io/unseen, you can watch it. It's only 10 minutes long, so much shorter than, for example, Dominion or something like that. And if you go to DxE.io/unseen, see for yourself how Smithfield treats their pigs, what happens to them on their journey, what happens to them when they get to a facility to kill them, and just see the state they're in. These are living beings, just like us, just like workers, who deserve to be treated with respect and do not deserve to be made victims or to suffer or to be killed. As long as Smithfield sees living beings as disposable, they will continue to treat workers that way. They will continue to treat animals that way. And now they will absolutely treat communities that way. Whole communities of people whose groundwater is poisoned, whose airs are poisoned, like Elsie Herring. You can't get away from it because you've been living there for 100 years. Your family has lived there for so long. You can't just move away when Smithfield comes into town. And they know that, and they take advantage of these impoverished people. So as long as Smithfield sees other living beings as disposable, as objects, as a machine for their profit engine, then they will continue to treat other individuals this way. And that's why we need to change the laws. And if you can absolutely help if you go to DxE.io/tweet-Smithfield, DxE.io/tweet-Smithfield, to let the company know and the world know what you think about that. What do you think of companies who treat workers and animals and communities like that? Our environment is so precious that it is literally irreplaceable. Okay, so why are they treating it like a toilet? And that's why we're here. That's why we have a pile of Smithfield property now on this graph. This property is Smithfield. I guess there's nothing wrong with it. So here you go. You can have it back. And this is not even, this is like an eyedropper where there are swimming pools full of this stuff in communities. They smell it. They have to breathe it in. Obviously, it causes like insects to come. It contaminates groundwater. It's just like, it's nothing but pollution for profit. And that's just part of their machine. It's all for profit. And they lie about it. They will just, after this, someone might issue a press release saying, like, oh, we don't do that, we don't do this. That's fine. Go see for yourself. I invite the public to go see for yourself. Go to their facilities, smell the air, go to Circle 4. Try to see for yourself what they're doing. See for yourself, is this the reality? Why don't we see the process? Why don't they show us? Like, why don't they give tours of their facilities? Why do we have to make a map like Project Counterglow just to tell people where they are? They know they have to keep it hidden, and that's the only way they can keep doing this, because as soon as the public finds out, politicians are going to be pressured to do something about it, and they should. We shouldn't have laws that allow capitalist profiteering to come above communities, to come above workers, to come above the lives of animals who are just like our dogs and cats. They feel pain, they have babies, they just want to live their life. But this company exploits them at every turn. And they say, well, if we can get away with that, why don't we? Well, who cares about workers? Who cares about people of color? Who cares about people who don't have documentation, or who are just, they're poor and they don't have any other options? Or their backgrounds have put them in a position where this is the only work maybe they can do. And Smithfield knows they're basically disposable. They're just treating them like garbage. As long as Smithfield is doing things like this, hiding this away on a daily basis, then people have to stand up against that. They're just going to bulldoze over our communities and over workers and over everyone in their path, animals, the earth, the air. It's all disposable to them. I don't know what they're hoping to achieve. After decades of this, if the climate crisis and the pandemic risk alone could literally annihilate our civilization. Like, these are serious issues. Besides all the bad things they're doing in their facilities, they have no long-term ambition. What are they going to do in 5 years when the next version of COVID comes out, when African swine fever has jumped to human beings because of what they're doing to pigs? They're keeping pigs confined in unsanitary conditions. They never let them get outside. Animals are not meant to live that way. And what happens when you crowd thousands of individuals, over 500,000 individuals is just at Circle 4? Smithfield doesn't care. They're looking at the next quarter of profit. They don't care about the long-term future of humanity or life on this planet. They don't care if the next disease comes in and just starts wiping people out. African swine fever has up to 100% fatality rate. It's a hemorrhaging fever. I don't understand it. I'm not like a doctor, but I do know that they are worried about it. The CDC and the few people who are trying to keep track of it are worried. They're not doing anything about it because these companies have so much massive power. It's not like they can go in and say, well, it looks like, we've got these diseases we don't understand or know about, because these facilities are nothing but breeding chambers for these diseases. We know zoonotic diseases come from these types of facilities. And it's just a matter of time before something like the G4H1N1 virus, which no one's talking about. The G4H1N1 virus is known as swine flu 2.0. Why aren't we hearing about it? Well, it's the same reason we didn't hear about COVID until it came to the United States. It's spreading around the world right now. Swine flu 2.0, African swine fever. It's like, oh, it's not a problem here yet. And as long as this company is making billions of dollars and they're paying off politicians and they have the AVMA, in their pocket, and it's like everything's about protecting their profit. They don't want people to know that their facilities are pandemic generators by design. So I'm worried about the future of like the world at this point. I know that sounds weird to say, and I don't understand it. So you're right, like a lot of it scares me. Maybe I don't understand, but I'm trying to understand. And these are just two things that we do know about, that if you do your own research, it's the G4H1N1 virus, African swine fever. There's also hepatitis B. No one talks about hepatitis B, but the CDC found that 40% of pigs have hepatitis B. And workers are exposed to blood, which carries hepatitis B. They're exposed to the liver, which has hepatitis B. So it's like, oh, well, that's just, that's inconvenient for profit to talk about those things. To talk about diseases like hepatitis E, which have no vaccine, that workers are constantly exposed to. So like the CDC does this testing and they figure this out, but they don't do anything about it. Just like the USDA doesn't do anything about it. If you go to DxE.io/unseen, you'll see just an example of the USDA's negligence in what they're supposed to do, which is ensure that the very worst cases of the companies like Smithfield, when they go to kill individuals, that they do it in some sort of way that they think the public can digest, like that there's some sort of humane way to kill someone. But we found, when I went into that slaughterhouse and found that individuals were waking up, hanging upside down on the slaughter line, and the USDA just kind of shrugs their shoulders. They tell us it's humane. They tell us it's good food. But if you ever go to a slaughterhouse, if you go to DxE.io/unseen, you'll see what they're hiding from you. They are definitely not going to tell you all the things that are wrong with their business. It's up to people like us. It's up to the general public to find out for ourselves, because the government's not going to protect us. They're just accepting money from companies like Smithfield. That's why we have all these communities full of SHITfield shit. And as long as the politicians are laying back and not doing anything, Smithfield's going to keep getting away with it. So we need to make people aware of this, because the public should not stand for this. You deserve the truth. Like, it's pretty simple. Everyone deserves the truth. We should respect people. We should respect individuals.
There's just a mountain of reasons. There's literally no shortage of a reason why a company like this and their practices like need to be dissolved tomorrow. And I think we all recognize that it's maybe not possible for that to happen, but that should just instill, even more and more urgency and more and a greater just rise up of everyone. So, I think when you kind of think about all of these abuses and all of this violence, in some ways it kind of could boil down to the fact that everything is a number, everything's statistical, and every decision that's made by a company like this that's been financially unbelievably successful for, I believe, about a century, is that decisions are made decisions are made for what's most profitable, most ideal for the company. And when you do that, you forget every single life that is involved. So every single individual worker that's been affected by Smithfield Corporation becomes a number. They become a percentage, they become a statistic to report or maybe even hide. Which was actually being challenged by, I believe, Cory Booker also, but definitely Elizabeth Warren right now, for concealing vital information. And they forget that every single animal is an individual. So if you all saw this photo, this might be, somewhat abstract to think, but I genuinely believe that what it would take for our culture and our friends and our family and our really, I guess, just our whole culture to move away from systems and companies that are so violent is to recognize that every pig that's in that dumpster, every pig that's being hauled down a slaughter line right now, and there's hundreds, if not thousands, that are hung up by their feet right now in Smithfield facilities. And then on the other side, every single worker that's inside of a factory farm owned by Smithfield right now, every worker that's dissecting the body of a pig that they've grown to be desensitized to is an individual, someone with a different story, and someone who's either strayed away from who they're supposed to be or has been forced to become someone that they never could have imagined. And in an ideal life, none of this would exist. In an ideal world, there would be no animal that's ever confined to be killed, bred to be killed, seen as an object, and there'd be no worker that's just deemed, kind of in some grouping where they can be tasked with taking on all of these horrible practices and then silenced and forgotten about. And again, that's why I'm so much an emphasis that taking down a company that's worth billions and billions of dollars is not easy, but it's something that has some legs. It's something that does have practicality, because there are so many people that are so angry and so uncomfortable by it that all of our voices and at the end, all of our actions and our speech lines up together, we can bring companies like SHITfield down.
Hi. Yeah.
Do you want me to film you? Yeah. I can do it.
Well, if you can do both, or yeah, I guess you can get kind of filming copies as well.
I can try, but
Can you do it one-handed? Everything you talked about.
I'm going to try. Sorry, we're just discussing something. So yeah, so apparently there's nothing wrong with this stuff. We put caution tape on it because we know what it is. And I'm just gonna try to move this here. You can see. I'm not sure if you can see, but this is going to be hard to move. I hear it sloshing. I hear it sloshing around, and super gross and super smelly. Okay, I'm gonna see if this can because I need to now.
So this is basically Smithfield property. Again, this is literal feces from a Smithfield lagoon, and it's literally only a few gallons. But this is the waste that accumulates inside of Smithfield facilities. And there's something that is actually like really shocking to me right now, and it's not just the smell. It's not the fact that I'm walking on the lawn right now with feces. It's the fact that the color of this shit that's on the top of the barrel, it's not brown. It is red. And that means that these lagoons, and what we know is that it is not just fecal matter, but it's pain and it's suffering, it's blood, it's afterbirth. It's probably literal babies that have slipped through the grates on the inside of some kind of Smithfield barn that slipped into these lagoons and have just festered in these cesspools. It looks like Raven right now is kind of struggling with just the stench of this horrible, horrible substance.
Every time it crosses, it's like,
you know, and it feels like a dichotomy of what I'm saying, because I'm saying it's horrible, but I'm also, we're also saying that this is apparently a substance that, Smithfield is really in supportive of, spraying over lawns and using it as a form of fertilizer or whatever it may be. So I think what we're about to do, well, I guess you'll see what we're about to do. But this is truly a test of is Ken Sullivan here someone who actually believes what he says publicly, or does he have in actuality a different set of morals? Yeah, take your time.
Oh my gosh. Can't believe, I mean, just imagine.
Knock on the door. Knock on the door so we can talk. People talk.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, so we have the shit right here. Police are staying back, and we're gonna see actually if there is anyone home. There's a car parked in the driveway. If anyone's willing to maybe just chat for a little while, and if maybe if Ken is watching this and we have a conversation, I think that would be something that we'd actually be a little impressed by, and we'd go away.
This is just Smithfield property, right? I'm just returning it to them. It's like a package. Hello?
Is there no doorbell?
All right. Smithfield, do you want your stuff back?
Oh.
Oh, it's perfectly fine for communities. Let's see what you think of the smell. And who knows what's in here? Whatever Smithfield is hiding is in here. So if it's perfectly safe and fine for our communities, then this is also fine, right? It's just white water, a little fertilizer. But who knows? There could be hepatitis E in here. I don't know. If Smithfield's hiding that from people, how would you know? So, like, that is all there's now. It's a little chunky near the bottom.
This is literal shit, and the camera's facing forward, but if you could see the cringe that's on my face right now and the smell that we're experiencing, it would, maybe the future of live streams will be able to provide a smell element. But I mean, this is Smithfield shit that's literally been brought back to Ken Sullivan.
Blood, it's shit, it's urine, it's also to whatever diseases, whatever came out of Smithfield's farm, of what they're doing to those victims, what workers are exposed to every day, is in here. So that's fine. Now the CEO can have some, right? It's fine for everyone.
You're gonna go put that maybe just like on his doorstep. It seems like he has an Amazon package. Put it right by it. Maybe even like right up there. Or up to you.
Yeah, people can see it better. Yeah. It's a package from Smithfield. It's a present from Smithfield to the CEO of Smithfield. Because this is what they're doing to our communities. If one of us is suffering, we're all suffering.
Realistically, it's it's genuinely a sad moment to see that come out, because it is shocking, the color. I mean, we wouldn't think the color of shit is something that could actually make you sad and shocked, but the fact that a significant portion of it is shit and urine, but there's also a portion of it that is blood, and that is the actual just release of terror and fear and confinement and abuse and neglect of all of these beings. And I don't know if it's odd to say that that's instilled in the shit, but it really is. And you know, in some sense, it brings all of the horridness. It brings the blood. It brings the smell and the pain, you know, to the folks that should see it, because it is never, and it isn't any C-level executives that ever see the abuse firsthand. They're never the ones that go to the packing plants. They don't walk down the slaughter lines. They don't see the floors drenched in blood. They don't see the floors of the factory farms caked with feces, with dead bodies laying around. They don't see the suffering faces of the communities that they are diminishing, and they don't see the faces of the individuals whose lives are lost because of the virulent diseases that they've caught in their facilities. And you know, the more and more these folks get detached from what they're actually responsible for, the more money that goes into their pocket, so that they can hide deeper and deeper away and just shy away from having any ownership of what they're responsible for. You know, the more at risk we are for stuff like this to keep happening. So as of today, you know, there is shit on and blood on Ken Sullivan's home, the CEO of Smithfield, and maybe it's something that will wash away, but it's something that's going to stay in the brick, in the stone, and in the ground of this property forever. Hopefully an action that he remembers forever and really, you know, shakes them up a little bit.
I'm giving that to Chris. Maybe he can speak a little and you can take the camera.
Sounds good. What, this one? All right, yeah, this one. I don't want to take this.
You have Russ's.
Where is it at here?
What's everybody, Curtis here, and I don't know if you just saw, but Raven just went up and actually dumped little shit that was taken from a Smithfield pig factory farm. And this is probably one of the strangest interactions I've ever had with the police, or lack of interactions, if you will. Like, they're really not doing anything. You know, we thought that might have prompted them to maybe take action, one for trespassing, but they're not doing anything, which only indicates one thing: that this company and this CEO is going to great lengths, even instructing the police not to just to let us do whatever as long as we're not damaging anything. They don't want this in the news. They don't want this in the media. They don't want this anywhere. So that's why we need people on the internet sharing this. We need people talking about this. We need people tweeting at Smithfield. We need people using the hashtag SHITfield. And we also need people not supporting or funding these companies. Obviously, we're here for the animals first and foremost, but there have been many complaints of like literal human slavery. You can look it up. Google human slavery Smithfield. You will find it. They exploit migrant workers to ridiculous long hours and arduous working conditions. These companies are destroying the environment. And so it's not just an animal rights issue here. Obviously, again, we're here for the animals first and foremost. Speciesism is discrimination, and that's why we need to take action. With that said, there are many other issues involved in this, and they are going to great lengths to keep this under wraps. They are going to great lengths to not have this information get out. They want people consuming and conforming. They want people consuming and conforming, just eating this trash, and it's lining the pockets of this guys. It's lining the pockets of, you know, the healthcare racket. It's lining the pockets of big pharma. People are dying. People are diseased from eating these products. World Health Organization, like 5 years ago now, labeled processed meats, pigs, pork products a class 1 carcinogen. So we need to shut these industries down that are abusing animals, exploiting animals, and it's just insane the length that they'll go to keep this under wraps. Obviously, this is a pretty high-profile target, CEO of the largest pig murdering company in the United States, Smithfield Foods, which is owned by WH Group, which is owned by the Chinese government, is basically told the police to just let us do whatever we want. So it seems like, you know, I don't know what's going to have to be done for, you know, the boys in blue here to you know, want to put their hands in anybody, but it seems like they're letting everyone go with pretty much whatever they want to do. So let's see here, what's Raven doing now?
We're about to call
We're calling.
You're on the live stream. We're about to call the house.
Are you calling the house?
Yeah.
Matt, you're calling Ken?
So yeah, we're gonna place a call here. I think this is to be in this situation where this is happening in front of your house. Like who among us would not? Somebody was dumping feces on your front lawn. Like you want to have a conversation, or you want to like. I don't know if you go right to police, but I would try to have a conversation with the person. Like, hey, are you okay? Like, what's got you so upset? Or are you mentally all right? Or like, what exactly is going on here? Like, why would you go to this matter? Or maybe you're trying to call the police, but in this instance, obviously, we have a guy who's doing no such thing. Who wants to know that doesn't happen. Don't see you. I can't see you. I can't hear you. You don't exist. Type of thing, which is funny. It's kind of like where's the line here? But this is why we should keep this in mind whenever they come at us with like these big scary felony charges when they are raiding farm animal sanctuaries. That it's a facade, it's a scare tactic, and when they come at us with scare tactics, it's because they're afraid of the exposure. Because these police officers, not only are they instructed not to arrest her, look at they're like way the hell down there. Those two are, far back, like they're not on site. And so
not even talking with us.
Yeah. And so it's we know what's going on here. The police officers are doing as they're told, and they someone somewhere has instructed them, whatever, leave these people alone.
If this was anyone else's house.
Yeah. Well, because anybody else's house would want something done.
Yeah.
But Ken Sullivan wants no attention drawn to this whatsoever. So I have several numbers here. So actually, let's try them. We have some mobile numbers for Ken, which is interesting. Two numbers listed as mobile numbers for Ken Sullivan. So let's try that. It might be improper for me to show that, but I'm going to. We have a premium account. So what sure she's doing that. But let's
What's Raven doing?
All right, so I'm gonna try this number. I won't show it on the live stream, but
we're trying to call Kenny Boy.
I'm gonna call. This is a mobile number listed for Ken, so don't.
One anyway.
The mailbox is full. I cannot accept
Imagine that.
I'll show you one. Well, there's a couple listed here. Well, yeah, we could do that.
We'll have the number for a little while, so.
Yeah,
that'd be cool
and we can. Yeah.
So if you're just joining us, Curtis here with DxE, and we are at Ken Sullivan's house. He is the CEO of Smithfield Foods, the largest pig murdering company in the United States, which is actually owned by the Chinese government. And we brought him a special present today, very nice present. We were able to acquire a big barrel of shit from one of these lagoons at a Smithfield pig factory farm. And we came and we had Raven spray some of this shit on his lawn and then dumped a large bit of it out up there near his front stairs. And if you're wondering why we would do such a thing, it's because he does the exact same thing every day, hundreds of millions of gallons of it a year, all over rural communities, a lot of times poor, impoverished communities, which in turn drives their property values down, which not allows them to not get out from underneath where they're living. And they're calling that there's actually tons and tons of lawsuits against Smithfield. Some have already went and passed. There's a lot of pending ones right now. But Smithfield and their litigation team thinks that these lawsuits from people over environmental concerns are an abuse of the legal system. Spraying shit into, pretty much anywhere they can. There's these massive football fields, big, swimming pools worth of shit, just out of control. Just go to Google Maps and find this factory farm, and you'll find these shit lagoons. They're everywhere, and they're carefully hidden throughout the United States, and they don't want anyone aware of it. So we brought Kenny Boy a little taste of his own medicine here. And the insane thing is, I've done quite a few of these actions such as this. It seems like he has instructed the police to not apprehend anyone. And Raven went up all the way to the front of the house back here and dumped probably a quarter of that barrel out. Shit, it was disgusting. I filmed it right up there next to his stairs. Dumped it. You're gonna have a nice surprise when he gets home. And then she went and left the barrel up there next to it. Looks like there's a package from UPS or Amazon or something. So, definitely appears to be, like she was on private property, but the police don't care. And if this tells us one thing, because if this house was anyone else's house, any other random person's house, the people inside would first want to have a conversation with whoever was out there. Then they might call the cops. Then people would be arrested. And right now, Kenny Boy has probably got the boys in blue instructed them to just not do anything. Not do anything. Because they don't want exposure. What are we doing?
The landline of this house. So
landline.
We're going to give it a try here.
And looks like Raven is... doesn't appear that anyone's in there. But... So we're trying to call Ken's landline in this house here. We are in Richmond, Virginia, and we're trying to get a hold of him. We gave him a present. We've been trying to get in touch with him for a while, and we brought him some pig feces from one of his farms because he likes to spray it on poor, impoverished communities, black and brown communities. And so we thought we'd see how he likes it and brought him some shit so he can, cherish it here in his own yard.
I'm not sure if you're standing outside of your house and would love to have a conversation.
So someone answered, though.
Wow. Yeah, I can hear
it. So we just called Ken Sullivan's house. Breaking news here. We have now 5 police cars out here. 5. Or just some people gathered, on the street, which is quite funny. So we have 2 down here, 2 down this way, and we've got 3 back here. Yeah, that's a good shot right there. So we got the SHITfield banner here. We've got the police protecting the CEO of one of the worst companies, corporations on the planet. So again, if you're just joining us, Curtis here with DxE, and we are in Richmond, Virginia, just outside the city. And we are at the CEO of Smithfield Foods house, Ken Sullivan, Smithfield Foods. Now, what we did today is we brought him a barrel of pig feces that was acquired from a Smithfield pig factory farm. Why are we doing this? We're doing this because Ken Sullivan does the same exact thing every single day. Hundreds of thousands of gallons of pig feces from his factory farm pig murdering operations are sprayed into rural communities. And people have gotten sick from this. There have been many, many lawsuits. Smithfield has had to pay out millions of dollars to people that have filed lawsuits against them for environmental destruction and other health hazards. So again, this isn't even again, this is not just an animal rights issue, but this is a human health, this is a environmental hazard issue as well. So we thought that it would be just a nice gesture to bring him some of the shit to his home. So he could have a good time with that. And it's worth noting that when Smithfield has been questioned about these lawsuits, they say that it is an abuse of the legal system for ordinary people, for people of color, for minorities that are disproportionately affected by this. It is an abuse of their power to go after Smithfield. What's that? Okay. So yeah, so Smithfield is saying that it is an abuse of these people's power to go after them over environmental and human health concerns. And the irony here is that anybody watching this live stream right now, if you came within 20 yards of this stuff, it's some of the most putrid stuff you can possibly imagine. These lagoons, these pig lagoons on these factory farms, it's shit, it's blood. Sometimes there's dead bodies, like dead animal bodies in it. Other excrement, urine that are mixed in these lagoons of shit. They're everywhere. Just you can pull up a Google map and you can find these. They're easy to find. So the most normal people, if this happened to them and people showed up at their lawn with a big bin of shit, they would probably at least want to have a conversation. Why is this happening to me? Why are you guys here? Why are you doing this? And then second, if people continued, maybe they might call the cops. Third, if people didn't leave or people, continue to trespass, be where they shouldn't be, they'd probably get arrested. None of those things has happened here today. We showed up. He doesn't want to talk to us. We're trying to get a hold of him. The police did show up, but no one has been arrested, and the police haven't even talked to us, which means one thing. This means one thing. This company does not want the exposure. They do not want anyone arrested because that leads to press in the paper. That leads to, press online. That leads to people generally talking about this issue. And the more that people talk about this issue and the more that people hear about it and the more that people learn, the more likely that everyday people, average people, are not going to want to support this company. So Ken is just trying to pretend like we're not here, we don't exist, nothing ever happened, and it's just another day. But we need, and if the one thing you can do right now to help us out is to share this live stream and tweet at Ken Sullivan and tweet at Smithfield and use the hashtag SHITfield in these tweets. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to stop SHITfield. And it looks like Raven is going to go back onto the property. I don't know what she's planning here. Okay. He's got it.
I do video.
Okay.
Video.
All right, so I'm going to give it back to Cam here.
Good video.
Hey everyone. So yeah, there's 1, 2, 4, 5 police officers. It looks like, and they're kind of seeming to kind of all start to head on over. They've been waiting for a little while. Maybe this is a sergeant right here, and they are coming on over.
Sir, I don't want to.
Why don't we put on our masks too, so that we're all safe over here?
Social distancing thing, all that stuff going on.
Appreciate
What was that going on today? I see you guys are filming me. I just want you to know that we're filming as well.
Thank you.
So what do we got happening? Who's in charge? I'll speak with you. Yeah. There are press releases there that has a lot of this information. The owner of this house is complicit in some evil, frankly. What kind of evil is he doing? He's spraying feces on communities throughout the country, particularly in North Carolina and in Virginia. that have the misfortune of living next to pig farms. So people who don't have enough money, people who are disadvantaged, and they end up breathing in shit day in and day out.
This gentleman owns the pig farm?
Yeah, well, he's
Over
CEO of the
2,000.
company. He's Ken Sullivan. He's
What
the
company
CEO.
is that?
Smithfield Foods.
Okay.
Yeah, he's an extremely wealthy man, and he's extremely wealthy on the fact of extreme amount of suffering and harm caused to innocent people, innocent animals, the environment, and so on. So that's what brings us here today.
Okay. All right. Outstanding. Well, what brings us here today is that you're here today, and that this is kind of an unlawful assembly. And did you guys put that barrel up on the man's foot?
Well, you can kind of see what happened with the. I mean, we have live stream available on there, and
Right.
you'll see that this individual did that. Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, you can't do that. I mean, that's not cool.
Well, I think it actually is the appropriate thing to do.
You think it's the appropriate thing to do?
I think that when there's this much harm, when our legal system is being weaponized and targeted, when all this harm is being done, and the people who are drawing attention to it are the ones that are punished, and the law and our political system is being weaponized against whistleblowers doing the right thing, then I think this is very appropriate. I think that's the right thing to do. I think we have a rich history of civil disobedience in this country, so that's what that is.
I got you. Not a problem. So, you guys have come out, you've had your say, all right? And I've come out to let you know that the say is over, okay? Whoever put that on the gentleman's porch is going to be charged, all right? I'm Captain Marty Harrison, by the way, 3rd Precinct. Harrison. And so I'm going to ask that you leave, other than the person who did the trespass. And whatever is in that thing there, I don't know if it's some type of chemical agent or whatever it is, I don't know. I'm going to have the fire department come, and they're going to figure out what's going on with that. And it may be some other charges that might be levied based on whatever is in that thing. I can
tell you exactly what's in that, and it's the same thing that's being sprayed on all sorts of innocent people around this country. And this guy's calling the shots.
Pig feces.
Yes, it's pig feces from his company.
Yeah, he created it, so we're just returning it.
So you're returning it to him.
There you go, buddy.
Well, yeah, I get it.
I think you're to put an arrest against this person, you're getting it wrong by a scale of millions. This guy right here is responsible for doing what happened here times millions.
Yeah, so
I got you, but you got to understand my point. I'm on the back end of it. That's all I can deal with what's being thrown on my lap right now.
You can do something different.
Well, not me. What I'm going to do today.
Well, what you are going to do versus what you could do.
Well, what I could do, I could do a lot of things. I could be at home, but I'm not.
You could do the noble thing.
I'm here.
Right. You could do the noble thing and stand up for what's right and say, hey, this is messed up. This is horrible.
I tell you what, you get a petition, you put it out somewhere, and I'll read the petition.
I wish our democracy worked.
I'll sign it.
All right, but our democracy is bought and paid for, and if a petition works, we've tried democracy 100,000 times over again. People are suffering in massive numbers. Animals are suffering. Our environment's being destroyed. We're doing this because the petition route, the legitimate route, has failed us. And that's what we've seen throughout history. And
but this route here, this route's not going to work. So we'll have to try something a little different another time.
I think that people will
young lady, you're the one that put the stuff up there. So the officer's going to take charge of her, and I'm going to go ahead and ask you guys to go ahead and leave.
She is going to be arrested?
Well, she will be detained, and then either she will be arrested or given a summons.
What do you have the charges?
One of the two.
What's the charge?
Well, one is going to be trespassing on that man's yard. I'm going to ask you to leave, and then should you not leave after that, then I'm going to go ahead and declare the unlawful assembly.
So we're not allowed to stand on public property and exercise speech?
Well,
we can look at a parcel line. This is public property.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you right now, this is a neighborhood. You know what we got going on. We got a lot of protests. We got a lot of things going on.
I got you.
And we don't have the manpower to go ahead and split 8 different ways. Okay? So I am going to ask that you leave.
That shouldn't dissolve our constitutional rights.
We're going to go ahead and go from there. I hear what you're saying, but you're not hearing me. Right. But that is what we're going to do. What's your name, darling?
I can give you my ID.
You're going to give me your ID? All right. Go ahead and get that ID out for me.
this person is poisoning community?
It's just this individual right here who's being detained. The rest of us are being asked to leave.
We've tried
But
to
unfortunately, I do have a job to do.
Well, I know you have a job to do, but you know, the law is not the ultimate
people
right.
are gonna be
We have many times throughout history where the law has been on the very wrong side in many horrifying instances throughout history, and this is one of them.
Unfortunately, I can't go back and I can't change history.
Oh, well, you can't, but not that. Yeah, but
Okay.
you can do the right thing right now. It's not saying it's an easy ask, but you can do it. You can do the right thing right now. Any one of you could choose to do the right thing right now. Any one of you police officers here could do a heroic act, and you could refuse. You could refuse to take this person into custody. Any one of you police officers has the opportunity right now to do a heroic act, to do the thing that you know is right. At this very moment, tens of billions of animals are suffering in ways you cannot possibly imagine. If your dog or your cat were confined in a kennel while you go to work, you feel a little guilty about that. Right now, the same thing is happening to pigs. It's their entire lives. They cannot even turn around their entire lives. They're living that way. And that's enriching this man. This man is extremely wealthy on the backs of horrifying suffering to pigs and human beings also. Human beings are breathing this stuff in and day out. Children are getting asthma. Children people are just having to live with this day in and day out. That's horrifying. That's what our legal system, the legal system where you say, I know, I wish petitions did the job. I'm here to tell you, I've been doing this for a while. Petitions are not getting us anywhere near to justice on this one. So that's where this comes. And I implore all of you police officers, you can do the right thing. You can make a heroic act right now. I know this is not an easy ask. I know this isn't just something you do. I know you have your careers, et cetera, but sometimes major sacrifices are necessary. I'm currently facing a felony charge in the state of Iowa for exposing. We're a company, and Smithfield is also doing this. They literally roast pigs alive. Not an exaggeration. They take pigs by the thousands because they say it's a supply chain crisis. Thousands of pigs inside a barn. They roast them alive. Pigs are squealing. I can play audio for you right now. Pigs are squealing for hours on end. And I'm the one facing a felony charge for that. The company's getting no charges. The company calls in the officers in Iowa. Justice happening here, and I'm the one who may be going to prison for that. That's horrifying. That's horrifying.
What's your name?
My name is Matt.
Matt what? Matt.
No,
You're not going to do the last name thing with me,
yeah,
Matt. I gave you mine.
I'm, I don't trust, I've seen the way that the legal system is weaponized. I'm facing a felony charge for doing what's obviously the right thing. So, I don't know you personally, but I have a very unfortunate understanding of the way the law enforcement is protecting these powerful industries. So what's right doesn't matter so much as what's powerful, unfortunately, with law enforcement in this country.
Now, I do understand. I understand your stand. I do. I get it. I have some furry family members of my own, and that we definitely try to make sure they're as comfortable as they can be. So I get it. I do. Unfortunately, I get this other side too.
Well, the laws are quite often right, and sometimes the law is horrifyingly wrong. And when the law is horrifyingly wrong, we have an obligation to do what's necessary, what we can do to change that. Because right now, the amount of suffering is way up here, and the amount of suffering that it would take for you to refuse to do what you think your job says you do, or the amount of suffering it takes for that individual.
I know what you would like me to do, and I know what the citizens would like me to do. I know what my job requires me. Well, the ones that maybe oppose what you're doing. So what we're going to do, what I'm going to do is I'm stuck in the middle, so I'm going to play the middle. Okay?
Well, you're not playing the middle at all.
They're going to.
You're not playing the middle at all if you're protecting this horrifying, that's horrifying man. That's not the middle.
I'm protecting the pig. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to require her to go ahead and sign her summons. And then I'm going to go ahead and ask you guys to leave. And at that point,
Martin Luther King talked about this uneasy peace, where it's like they call it peace, when it's like when the order has been restored. Like you call it peace because you don't see what's happening in these horrifying factory farms. The pigs don't think it's peaceful at all. It appears peaceful when you're driving through a wealthy neighborhood.
Hey, let's get some photos.
Are doing
Can you grab the photos?
But this isn't a peaceful situation at all.
Yeah, well, why don't we show a couple photos, because maybe it can help bring a little context to this gentleman. No, sure, but it's it's worthwhile information.
Give me 1 second. This is my boss. Hey, Major.
Yeah. Why don't I take
those? I got you on speakerphone. What's going on? Yeah. I am at 7627 Hill Drive, and they're really. This is gonna be fibs. This is gonna be fibs.
311.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you're not responding to this, are you?
No.
Okay.
I'll just
Do you want to grab this maybe for a sec?
Okay. Yeah. They didn't put it. I saw it an author.
And continue the conversation.
So it looks like we're going to be summoning one individual for trespassing. They put a barrel of big feces on this man's head. Well, it's in a barrel. It's not laying out. I don't think we're going to go with the caustic substance charge. I think we're just going to go with the trespassing for right now. Okay, we have hazmat en route to dispose of it. It's a 55-gallon drum. I haven't checked the food. Oh no, it's not on. It's in the barrel on the porch. The barrel's on the porch. You're off. It's on the street.
It's a live stream.
Yeah. Do you want to take it?
All right, folks. So this is Matt Johnson behind the camera here. So we see Raven is Curtis, can you get photos of Raven, please? Here's Raven. We're not quite sure what's going to happen with her. She is being detained at this time by the police officers, and as expected, the police officers are not interested in the conduct of Smithfield. They're not interested in the conduct of this company. The conduct that is enriched Mr. Sullivan enormously. But instead they're targeting us. They're targeting Raven for her courageous act. Knowing what's coming to her, she knows what's quite likely to happen with this. She's willfully enduring the suffering. We're not sure this is going to be a detain and release. Not sure if there's going to be an arrest. But getting entangled in the legal system any which way is not a fun experience. But there's that. We'll just give you a quick look around here. Once again, this is the home, Kenneth Sullivan. There you see the drum. Here we go. Look, I didn't see this here. Respect the lawn, says Regina Green. Wow, I wish Mr. Sullivan would show a little bit of respect to everybody else who have with the misfortune of being born near a Smithfield farm. Respect the lawn, they say. Look at that.
That photo right here, I mean, it's a pretty stark photo, but you can kind of see it in contrast. So I just showed your partner here this initial photo. Now this is kind of like a really good symbolism of marketing that this company does. This is outside of one of their slaughterhouses that kills 10,000 pigs.
Watch the chat.
This is
see if they're saying something to me.
Frankly, a horrifying photo, but it's something that I've seen. So this is actually a dumpster. So
He wants to tell my phone's dead. He's typing the V8.
You can open a dumpster, and what you'll see are bodies. It's just a litany of bodies, and myself can say that I've seen this. I think there's a lot of folks here that have seen this firsthand, and it's not something that's out of the ordinary. But this is the way that companies like this treat others that we live on the planet with. And I mean, maybe for a moment, imagine if these were dogs or an animal you might be a little more personalized with. But this is what this company's doing, and the history of
If you check, is there no messages or anything? Can you text that VA chat and say my phone is dead? Matt's phone is dead.
What I would like to ask you is that there was a mention of an unlawful thing when it's and I understand that the police is spread out and they have a lot of things that they're working on because they're frankly there's people that are frustrated on a lot of fronts, but and a lot of it's warranted, and I would contend that this is just as warranted as the other protests. And we do have a person
To say, Matt says to tweet Alexa top 50. Matt says to tweet Alexa top 50. Or you can just message Cassie on here. Matt says to tweet Alexa top 50 with press release.
The least we can do is make a right? Now we can stand here and we can use our voice.
Or I can just.
Right now you're wearing
yeah, with press release, and then maybe just enter that, and then just send DxE.io/SHITfield.
so someone like me comes along and deems it unlawful, then it's time to move on.
Do you mind helping me understand the elements of public property that was unlawful?
So what I'm telling you is this. We're not going to get into the minutia of how to leave. Come out, you've done what you've done.
Okay, let's see here. Looks like they're, at least at the moment, turning Raven loose here. Raven, let's see, what do we got?
So they have asked me to appear for destruction of property.
All right.
So
Is that a misdemeanor? What kind of charge is that?
It's a class 3 misdemeanor.
Okay.
And if this substance is destruction of property, then I would think that Smithfield is destroying a heck of a lot of property right now.
Yeah,
as we speak, right now,
that'll
they
be
are
interesting to see.
destroying the property of communities who deserve better.
Mm.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. There's do you think you can go and just hold this? This is live. Should we just talk people through like what happened and everything? Just chat.
Sorry, I'm super hot here. I was wearing a biosuit for a while, and yeah, so we're just here waiting for a resolution to this because it doesn't seem like the officers are interested in holding the person responsible for all of this accountable, which is the CEO of Smithfield, Ken Sullivan. Ken Sullivan could right now decide that, you know what, these communities matter, our workers matter, we shouldn't be subjecting them to waste and abuse and putting them in danger with COVID and on the line injuries. We could be treating animals better, we'd be doing so much better. You know what, we're going to get out of the slaughter business. We're going to do something else. We're going to do something that benefits the future of this country and the world and does not pollute the environment, does not pollute communities, does not hurt workers, does not kill animals. We could do that right now, but this makes him a lot of money. And you don't afford a nice house like this without making a lot of money. But he could make a lot of money doing other things. He chose to do this, which is really, really sad.
Well, today's a different story. Today, go ahead, talk your special.
I think it's interesting to understand that we're being threatened with an unlawful arrest, even though there's no, as the officer said, we can't go into the minutia of why it's unlawful. It's just that he has some agreements with us, some agreements with the other parties, when fundamentally our constitutional rights should not be deemed and determined based on what other people's opinions are. It should be the fact that this is public property and this is where we can be. So
this is public property. We're standing on public property, bringing attention to an issue that affects tens of thousands of people of color and poor communities. And this is what Smithfield is doing. And instead of holding that person accountable, the police.
A quick question. I think the police officer would be interested in keeping these photos. Is it okay if I give these photos to the police officer, or is that something that you maybe don't want to
I
do?
think so. What we should do is probably point the officers to DxE.
Well, could I take a picture of them and I'll put it in my report?
I can give you a URL that you can see all these pictures on. It's DxE.io/unseen.
Oh, you did that too fast. I'm not.
Okay, that's right. I'm saying it for the recorder.
Oh, okay. You got it?
Well, that's one. There's also a mini documentary.
It's on the recorder.
Okay, yeah, DxE.io/unseen. It's a 10-minute mini documentary, just a glimpse into what Smithfield is doing.
Is there a sign-in page on it or anything?
Oh, it's okay.
Well, we do in a sense. We do.
We're just giving the officers here the URL to the mini documentary that I made, which is Unseen, DxE.io/unseen. It's just a glimpse, a 10-minute little introduction to Smithfield, just a little introduction into their facility and how they treat pigs and where they end up and what happens to their bodies. And that's just a glimpse. It doesn't even go into what the pollution that they're causing, all the suffering in these communities that they're causing. Hundreds of plaintiffs in North Carolina, Elsie Herring, many others poisoned by Smithfield. Poor communities and people of color deserve better. Smithfield should be held accountable. And that's why it requires the people to come out here. If we call the police on any of their facilities, they do nothing. They don't even show up. We say there's a barrel of shit. Well, what about the lagoons of shit that Smithfield is creating in these communities, where the smell drives people out, where the disease is breeding on those farms, sicken people. And they're usually workers. Workers are the first people poisoned by Smithfield. They're the ones who come in direct contact with the victims, and they get the diseases before anyone else because the diseases have to learn how to spread from human to human, and they don't always do that. They just spread to the workers. And it's so common, it's kind of shrugged off, just, get over it. Oh, you've got a cough now. Oh, big deal. You've got a fever. Who cares? These people are treated like disposable. When workers die, they're just replaced like a part in a machine. They deserve better than us.
Still going? Is it done?
Yeah, it's got 10% left.
Oh. Do you guys think it's okay to kind of wrap it up? Or maybe we'll keep going. We'll keep going with everyone for a little while. Everyone. So yeah, I mean, I think there's just kind of like I'll share a little bit about the interaction that I had with the police officer, which is kind of interesting. We're in Richmond, Virginia right now, which if you don't know is kind of a hotbed for a lot of protest or just the history of injustice that has been the case for both humans and non-humans in the state of Virginia, and there's folks that are rising up all over. So the police took kind of an interesting approach today, and they waited for a while, and then they kind of cornered in and brought a lot of officers, and they ended up citing Raven. I actually don't know the exact verbiage or exactly what happened with her. I'm sure she filled everyone in here, but they are asking us to leave because they're deeming us being here on public property a unlawful assembly, which I did try to push back. We didn't push back too much, but we did push back, and we kind of argued that public property and the use of free speech is really the only thing that we have when we are an nth, if anything, of the wealth of someone like this who has all of the political and economic power that someone could ever really fathom or even grapple to hold. So we're arguing still that it is our speech, it is the ability to share things and make things go viral on social media, and that's where we hold power. Nevertheless, they have decided to side with either Smithfield or the Sullivan family themselves, or some of the neighbors that are a little confused by what's happening. Regardless, the officer said that he has some kind of agreement or interest in our subject, but he is using his discernment to ask us to leave. So that is something that we're going to do today. But I do want to make it really clear to everyone that the campaign against Smithfield and every single action that happens is, if anything, a stepping stone for just more and more escalation, and a call to action for more and more people to speak up and do something about corporations like this, people like this, and a fundamental justice system that doesn't prioritize the well-being of either individuals or the well-being of kind of the whole planet as a whole. It rather kind of prioritizes pushing things onto the surface and protecting those that have money and power in just power in general in the world. So the way that you guys can support today is via DxE.io/tweet Smithfield. DxE.io/tweet Smithfield. And it's really easy to go and just send and get all the tweets out that address this company. You can also share this live stream so that more folks watch it, and you can share it with the hashtag SHITfield, which is in theme of the action today, calling attention to the human rights violations, the animal rights violations, the environmental violations that are caused by the way that that this company deals with literally the excrement of all of the animals that they house or enslave or just hold captive. So DxE.io/tweet.
Somebody who has a phone. I do not have a phone. If somebody who has a phone has a charge, can you wait me? You have a phone that has a charge? Oh, do you have a phone that has a charge on this? No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Only 10%.
Oh, okay. We can switch it up. All right. Hey, thanks for hanging in there, folks. Yeah, pretty wild experience here, and I've never seen anything like this. They were very, it's very hesitant to do any sort of a charge, which, we're not sure what conversations are happening behind the scenes. We're not sure what sort of things are being passed along. Like, if Big Bad Smithfield is like, okay, just please don't, just anything you can do to get rid of these people and stop drawing any attention to anything, or how that conversation went. Anyway, we're making our way to get the vehicle and to wrap things up. People, if you have not already, I do encourage you to check out the documentary that Raven, who's the individual who is cited today. Actually, there she is behind me. Unseen. That's DxE.io/unseen. Actually, I don't know, people who are putting this live stream on, we could actually switch over and do that, run that. That would be excellent if we have not already, to actually just play Unseen on the screen and let people get a chance to check that out, because it really just shows some shocking stuff happening in the Smithfield supply chain, just top to bottom. Ordinary people are just in the dark and are completely horrified at what they find out. And now, actually, this is pretty interesting. You see the officers are going to go check out what this is. I don't know to what extent they're kind of taking our word for it versus, testing or, checking what the substance is, that sort of a thing. But it is, in fact, the same level of toxic or not toxic or whatever as what is being sprayed in massive numbers to innocent people all around this country. And nobody is, they're getting away with it and making a huge profit and continuing to do it. So, destruction of some property is prioritized above the destruction of others, obviously. So, some of the folks, do you have a phone with? Oh, this is your phone with. We do. Well, we have to have somebody with well, whatever. I can go with y'all. Whatever. Let's go with them. No, I mean, as long as I just can't be left here with my phone's dead. Okay, we're all okay. Cool. All right. So anyway, we're gonna walk and get picked up and meet up with the folks that that drove us here and whatnot. So yeah, a pretty very very telling action here, and I think it was really. We got obviously a lot of visibility via social media, so thanks so much for everybody for that. And please do, if you've not already, please share this live stream. Get the word out there. People need to see what's happening. It's just, I had never quite experienced anything like this, where the officers are so hesitant to do anything, to do any sort of enforcement on this. I mean, they're literally just watching as Raven's up there dumping this thing out, and finally, I guess whatever it was. Enough was enough, that sort of a thing. You don't have to have another phone on you, yeah? Nobody here has another phone. Okay. Okay. Oh yeah. So we'll. All right. We're trying to work with the. Hopefully this battery lasts us here, but yeah. And please, if you haven't already, if you're not already on DxE's email list, where you can keep track of the latest actions, we've just launched this. So-called SHITfield campaign, which we're pretty proud of. That was pretty clever. I don't know who thought of it, but that was a good one. Everybody's very excited and proud of ourselves on that one. But anyway, yeah. So it's this. So if you go to DxE.io/sign-up, you can sign up for that email list. You'll get usually 1 to 2 emails a week that are gonna let you know what's the latest that we're working on. Oh wow, here we got a fire truck. Fire truck is coming to get the barrel. So they're going to test these toxic substances. So this is, yeah, I mean, it's a toxic substance, I guess. I guess we're with them on that one. Kind of unequal treatment of some people getting poured toxic substances, get kind of shut down and ignored. And well, Kenny boy, we spare no expense when the toxic substances are raining on the affluent. So he got like 1/1,000,000th of what he is putting onto others, and there you have it. So anyway, is she? We don't need to walk that far. Oh, somebody said that'd be good. Somebody should do that. Yeah, please do. Or yeah, let me do that. Well, this is gonna die.
Where are we at? Let me check.
Can somebody pull up Skype? Oh yeah, check your battery level.
Howdy. Ooh, we've got 3%. So
3%.
I think this.
Curtis, can you join it?
How far?
No, can somebody? Well. So hey, All right, we're gonna try to get a different phone here and have it not die on us. How do I turn this around? Oops, I did twice. All right, so there you can see up ahead. How come? Okay. So anyway, this is the fire truck up ahead here that guess they're testing it as a toxic substance. I don't know if they're taking our word for it or not that this is in fact straight up pig shit, but we'll see how much the assessed damage is of pig shit being placed on the lawn and the steps and the sidewalk. We didn't even put it on the house. So I don't know. We'll take a look here and see how serious they think this whole situation is. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, can Curtis, we got it. My phone's about to die, but let's get Curtis on the Skype call. So he's working on that, but yeah, we'll capture this and then go to Unseen. And what I'm referring to is the documentary. It's just a 10-minute mini documentary. We're going to show you all. Very, very compelling. If you've not seen it, we're going to get to that in a few minutes. But for right now, we're going to get you a shot of the scene here where they're testing this toxic substance, which I guess it feels like an overreaction. They're not letting us.
No, he's saying that we're going to get arrested.
So what they're defining as a toxic substance, I don't know. It's kind of a question of like, how much of, I guess we want to push it, so to speak.
Well, I think it could be great if this is a toxic substance. You know what? We can point the finger at, I don't know. Hundreds of thousands of gallons, millions of gallons.
We'll see if it's deemed a toxic substance. So we're going to take a look here, see what's going on, see if this is in fact deemed a toxic substance. We'll find out whether it is. It feels like an overreaction on one hand, but it also is a very toxic substance. There are children who have asthma. There are people who just their quality of life is just horrible, that they're breathing this stuff on a daily basis. But you see, when it's the affluent, so much as have it poured on their sidewalk, then that becomes then that's a huge problem, and that's something we can't have. So this is the response that someone like Ken Sullivan, who's extremely wealthy, gets when there's something poured on his sidewalk. But for the thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who are experiencing this, okay. Well, I don't know where. How much of the public property am I prohibited from being on? So,
hey, news for everyone.
What'd you say, Louis? I didn't hear you, Louis. Oh, okay. All right.
Hey, if you can switch over to the new device that just joined, it's me.
Okay, yeah, switch over, yeah.
My camera is on. I can see myself.
We need to walk along. The meeting at the Pony Pasture, which is
Oh, fuck. Well, tell him to go around or something.
You're live right
How do I get off?
The police chief kind of reiterated and said that if we're there, we're going to push his hand and that we're going to be arrested, and he threatened us again with that, which is, realistically, like, just even more silly that walking by and once we're not moving, you don't have the video.
It looks like it's on our end. We're seeing it. I don't know.
Let me flip it around, and I don't know if that's going to make some difference.
Try ending the call and going back.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm here in Berkeley with some other folks here, but we are just jumping in because it seems like they're switching from one phone to another. The phone they were using died, and they've already been out there at CEO Ken Sullivan's house for a few hours now, so let's see if we can get their video going on the new phone. We will jump back to them, but in the meantime, still can't see you, Cam, but
Can you guys see me by any chance?
I see a frozen image. But maybe in the meantime, we should pull up the documentary. That
sounds good. Yeah.
Okay, well, you'll figure that out. No worries. So one of the activists who's there in Virginia right now, Raven Deerbrook, did this investigation of Smithfield's supply chain from Utah all the way to California. This is an international company with farms all over, and this investigation culminated in a mini documentary that we're going to pull up now that's called Unseen. And you can see for yourself inside of Smithfield's facilities.
Protested a couple CEOs at this point, but Ken Sullivan of Smithfield's home, and we're walking away. As we were leaving, a fire truck pulled up, and they are apparently going to be testing the contents of the barrel for any kind of toxic substances or things like that. And
I hope they're like, this is horrifying, toxic.
I mean, realistically,
something must be done.
It'll be interesting to see what kind of pull Ken might have on that. He might kind of say, "Oh, stop the brakes, pull the brakes." Don't do that because
I'll lick it.
Yeah, because potentially, if if there's something awful in this substance, we could have a really interesting story on our hands because we had maybe about 40 gallons in that barrel today, which obviously did not make even close to a dent in the actual pool of where this came from. I mean, I don't know what the actual number is, but I would guess millions of gallons in each lagoon, if not hundreds of thousands of gallons in each lagoon. So if there's something a little toxic that's concerning to Ken, not only do we have millions of gallons more to point to, we can also point the finger and say, hey, well, if it's wrong on your yard and that's concerning to you, well then this is full circle, and you're spraying this on hundreds and thousands of people all across the state, all across the country.
So what's going to be funny, I think that I think there might be something that should be that we could FOIA, get a Freedom of Information Act request on, and find out as public information if the fire department is running this test on a certain material or whatever. Not positive about that, but I think we could, if we can get that. So just imagine if they find and there's all these horrible toxic things in there, and they deem it not toxic, and it's just like, oh, interesting, because it's like if it was some other circumstance, like they go in and they're like, oh my God, this is loaded with E. coli and hepatitis and yada, on down the line. And they're just like, actually, you know what, it's not, which would be, at the bidding of Ken Sullivan, and it's like, gotcha, okay. See how that goes.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, they have a nimble battle that they have to play, and how they're going to try to, not bring a lot of attention to this, because kind of any way that it plays out, like as we obviously know, they are the ones that are producing this substance. They're the ones that store it fundamentally in these huge vats all across the country, where there just should be native marshland and animals that can live, but instead there's these incredibly toxic vats of mystery liquid that's brewing mystery diseases and pose a incredible health crisis to all of us. So, at the end of the day, I hope that it brings some good attention to that subject. And as of today, officially, sewer lagoons and shit swamps are something that Ken Sullivan is not able to run away from, because we brought it to his front yard. Let's see. So we're just waiting for our cars to get picked up right now. Oh, it looks like there's another police officer that's coming over here. So let's see if they approach us right now, or if maybe they drive off. It looks like they're driving off because, you know, for whatever reason, even though we're doing the same thing that we were doing outside of Ken's house, we've now assembled right here on this specific part of public property. It's a lawful assembly, so, you know, there's a lot of arbitrary distinctions to be made there. But yeah, I'm really curious. I think we should definitely look into the FOIA option for results from whatever these folks find. But it's
I mean, they'll probably like regret that they tested. Like, shit, now we have to publicly release what it was, and we have to show the world that, oh, we deemed that it's actually just fine.
Yeah.
Like, well, how the hell are you saying that salmonella and E. coli and blah 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 are not toxic? Like, what's going on with that? That's an interesting one.
Yep, and for probably the Smithfield folks that are watching this, or going to be watching this, you know, I kind of have a worry that they're going to pull, oh, it was dumped all over the place, there wasn't enough to test. You know,
Yeah.
So it's like if you guys think that there's not enough to test, you can, yeah, you guys can reach out to us, or just go to one of your farms and test it.
Counterglow points in the right direction.
Yeah,
you can same difference.
ProjectCounterglow.org.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Project Counterglow might have a little more information than Ken actually has on where his sites of exploitation are. So that's a resource for everyone. Resource for even your own company to find out where the abuse is happening.
You're trying to find out where farms are, no matter what your intentions are. This is a nice little resource for all of our friends who want to know. Yeah, this is a map for people who may not be familiar. ProjectCounterglow.org. This is a map of over 27,000 farms around the U.S. And it's also an activist resource. So yeah, really cool platform. People should check it out. ProjectCounterglow.org. It's got big ag in a major ongoing freak out moment here. Transparency is the last thing that animal agriculture wants, and you saw it. I mean, you saw it in the way they freaked out over Project Counterglow. You saw it in their major hesitation to press any charges or take any sort of action against us here today. And it was, I mean, honestly, it kind of got to the point where it's like, okay, how much more do we have to kind of nudge them? How much more do we kind of have to provoke? Like, okay, spraying it out didn't do it. Okay, walking up there, dumping it out. Okay, and then finally, it's like, okay, if we're gonna just chill here, like, are we gonna set up a tent and camp out here? Like, what's it, what's it gonna take? But under any normal circumstances, it would have never taken so long. But Smithfield knows as much as all of us do. Like, yeah, the attention is a bad thing for them. Any which way they're drawing attention to this stuff.
At the end of the day, they're trying to play this just as tactical, because they know that their competition and surviving as a business is not just surviving as a business. It's facing all of the backlash, and they're getting a lot of backlash right now. It's not just folks that are reporting animal abuse. It's the individuals that are affected in the communities, surrounding communities around their facilities. It's the workers that are exploited, and now it's politicians that are coming forth and questioning if there's the actual fraud that took place in hiding the amount of coronavirus cases that are inside of their facilities. So, you know, they're getting a bad press image and pushback from folks from literally all directions right now.
Yeah.
And
the feud with Elizabeth Warren was comedy.
Yeah.
You got Elizabeth Warren, calling Smithfield out for their workplace environment where the coronavirus outbreaks are happening, and Smithfield is forcing their employees to come back to work. And our good friend Ken over there, with the assistance of some well-paid PR professionals at Smithfield, worked together like a 14-page letter, very carefully crafted about all the certain ways to sort of frame things. And boy, we're taking great care of our workers. They took out an ad in the New York Times, and it said, don't let the critics set the narrative. Let it be the warrior in the arena, or something along those lines. And it shows a photo of a Smithfield worker, which is just like hilariously disingenuous framing. Like, oh, you speak for the workers. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Sorry for us attacking the workers. Like, we're highlighting what's happening to the workers. Elizabeth Warren, the press, the media, was highlighting what's happening to the workers who are being killed. Smithfield's like, stop attacking the workers. Like, of course they're going to try to make that the conversation, like, oh, us versus these underprivileged people. It's like, no, we're speaking up for them. It's just so hilarious.
Exactly.
Anyway.
It's like Smithfield would show a worker just like they show this on the side of their slaughterhouse, and they want people to believe that's the truth. But they didn't show the picture of the worker in the hospital, just like they don't show these pictures from Circle 4, which are what actually are happening. They just want to control people, and they want to lie to people, and we think they deserve the truth.
And this report, this response to Elizabeth Warren was a 14-page response, but it was actually, like, the whole document was 124 pages, because they just had, did you see that?
I did not know that.
It was literally just a list of signed on behalf of all of their employees.
Oh, yeah.
And like,
Which
I don't know.
Because it's like, sign this shit if you want your job is probably like the subtext. Like, oh, would you like to sign? You know?
Yeah. If they even had them sign it.
I've never heard anybody who had to justify good treatment of workers. I've never seen anyone run an ad, try to convince people they do something well that they already do. If Smithfield actually treated the workers well, if they actually treated communities well, if they actually treated animals well, it would be self-evident.
It wouldn't be paid advertising.
We wouldn't be here.
I try to explain this a lot.
So the fact that they ran this ad is actually kind of proof that they need to come out with something to convince people. You don't need to convince people you're a good person. You just are.
Or how many companies, you know, in the same way they had to run an ad, how many companies have been forced by a court of law to publish an anti-slavery statement? Smithfield was forced by a court of law to produce a statement saying, in case anybody was unclear, which you'd have good reason to be unclear, we don't actually, we're going to at least say we don't approve of human slavery. And that's because within the past, I mean, this is what, 15 years ago, and that's what we know of. So, I mean, this is 2005, like that's not that long ago when you're talking about, yes, literal human slavery in the United States enacted by Smithfield. These were Thai immigrants that were given all these promises. They get here, they don't speak the language, their passports are taken from them, and then they're given no choice. Their finances are threatened, their families are threatened, they're working for just nothing. And it's slavery. It happened in Utah, and so Smithfield was forced by a court of law to publish an anti-slavery statement. You can Google it, Smithfield anti-human trafficking and slavery statement, something like that.
And the story on that is that there's basically like a kind of a marketing agency that's out of Los Angeles, and what they've done is they've gone to just poor communities in Thailand and said that, hey, we can offer you a job where you'll make what you normally make in a year in a month somewhere in the United States. And they sell this story of freedom and liberation to the folks that are, out there that don't really know, really what the world may be like. And so the specific document that was produced was someone being told that he could come to the US and would make like $9. And this was, a huge income. This is literally what this person would have made a year. And all you have to do is pay $14,000. Go ahead and we'll send you to some predatory lenders and get you to leverage your family's small rice farm, leverage your home, leverage everything, and if you can just pay us $14,000 up front, we'll bring you to have just a tremendous amount of opportunity right inside of Smithfield Farms, and that's the dream they sold because the people didn't know. And the other farm was down in Utah, and Smithfield used this agency to contract their labor. And I believe Smithfield also uses a lot of prison labor. Am I correct saying that?
I don't know that to be the case, but I know Animal does, and I can't say that with authority. But Animal Agriculture certainly does a lot, and if Smithfield doesn't, it's not because they have some moral opposition to it. It's because the supply chain, the price of land, and so on didn't quite fall into their favor because they're certainly not above it.
Because the numbers work, and they hope that they can get away from people finding out. Yeah. And then people find out, and there's public outrage, and they come out with this state, oh, we're anti-slavery. We were a part of slavery. We brought these people that are terribly abused, found out. So just FYI, we're gonna put this out there. We're actually not for it. After the fact, Cole and his discovery. To really wake us up.
We should get on scene playing. So I don't know if the folks behind the live stream are able to play this mini documentary. It's called Unseen. And Raven, who sprayed this pig shit on the yard and the drive-in's home and dumped it out on his driveway and knocked on his door. She's also the investigator and producer behind this 10-minute mini documentary called Unseen. I don't know if the folks if you're hearing me, if you're able to play that, they'll let me know if they can get that going.
Is she before? Is that working by chance?
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Well.
Okay.
Unfortunately, there's
still an issue.
Pretty long list about all the things that Smithfield does. So I guess we can kind of just keep talking about.
A few of these things don't qualify most horrifying things about Smithfield list with some of these recent ones. I mean,
a meatpacking
that's kind of like what you saw
facility,
today, honestly.
a slaughterhouse in the heart of California. These places exist in the shadows, so we're never shown what happens inside. It begins on the factory farm, like Smithfield's Circle 4, hidden away from scrutiny in the Utah desert. Inside the world's largest pig producer, individuals are reduced to units of production. With mothers and their newborns trapped in metal cages, the machine of animal agriculture does its work in secret, creating suffering on a scale never before imagined and building the perfect storm for pathogens in the process. California voters have been trying to outlaw these operations, but as an industry with little oversight, the state continues to truck in animals from places like Circle 4. After 6 months of confinement at Smithfield, individuals who survive are crowded on top of each other, up to 200 at a time, into steel transport trucks for a 700-mile journey through the heat of the Southwest, without food or water or anyone to care. So I followed them as they were driven all day and into the night, while they dreamed of escape. But this isn't their ride to freedom.
Someone has to share their story.
Thanks to a whistleblower, I was given a window into a business built on killing. They arrived sick, thirsty, and scared into unfamiliar surroundings, while they're beaten into the holding pens so the next truckload can come. Some of them lay dead on the truck, while others are painfully crippled, and individuals who've become too sick to walk on their own are executed with a bolt gun instead of receiving medical attention. Workers themselves suffer routine physical injuries, which are often unreported for fear of reprisal. And the psychological impact of the work has long-lasting effects. Carrying diseases from factory farms across the continent, some of the pigs continue to weaken and die. Those who perish suddenly are simply labeled dead. Others who show obvious signs of illness are sometimes killed and briefly examined, but only the symptoms of their diseases are ever determined. To the industry, the misery endured by these individuals and the risks of their diseases are merely an inconvenience to be covered up for the sake of profit. So too are the workers treated, constantly exposed to suffering, disease, and death, without understanding the risks, as though they were human expendables. An industry so focused on profit over personal suffering can only create one terrible outcome. Is this who we really are? Even if they make it inside, their reward is one of the most cruel endings possible for anyone. A gas chamber. As they are pushed forward, they limp into the loader together, and for the first time in their life, they see their own reflection in a mirror used to lure their attention. Before being forced into the gas chamber gondola, load after load. The USDA tells us that gas chambers are humane, but see for yourself. Over 8,000 individuals are gassed like this at this facility every week. These facilities are designed to profit on killing at any cost. The industry wants to be trusted to regulate itself, but how do you regulate an operation so focused on bloodshed? They're supposed to be killed before they wake up again, but the supervisors fail to prevent routine mistakes in the slaughter process. Infections are so common and run so deep. An inspector is dedicated to cut out what they can see, so the rest of their body can be sold as though they were healthy. This is animal agriculture. The industry wants us to focus on what we put in our mouth or buy in a store, on an object, not its origin. But what happens if we ignore the warnings while building our house on injustice? How can we achieve peace while a body needs more than a life? How can we nurture love when oppression is on our plate and the truth is hidden from us, without laws to protect victims, in a system created by greed?
We're basically building the highways for these microbes to transfer into our bodies.
It's having tragic consequences right now with over 20 deaths just in the last week.
People think I'm not a cow, I'm not a pig, I'm not that animal, so it doesn't care. But people can think, oh, I'm not this race, or I'm not this gender. That doesn't make it right.
Rescue the victims of oppression. Challenge violence with the power of compassion. Create the laws that value morality. End exploitation at its foundation. Expose the truth to protect our future. to prevent pandemics while we still can. Turn towards suffering with the strength of mercy, because our fates are connected. If we don't stop this industry.
Oh, sorry about that, folks. So what you just saw was the mini documentary Unseen, which was produced and edited, directed, investigated by Raven Deerbrook, who's the activist who was arrested today. I don't know if that officially counts as an arrest. Cited, detained, maybe that would count as an arrest. Raven, are we calling that an arrest? Does that count as an arrest? What do you think? All right. Site release. There you go. So obviously, really powerful stuff. That documentary, has gotten a lot of traction, which is awesome. A lot of people have obviously been watching the live stream today, which is really good. People are really waking up to what Smithfield is doing to animals, to these communities where they're dumping these toxic waste, spraying it into the air, and it's just literally raining down onto these communities, and what Smithfield is doing to animals. I mean, at this very moment, millions of animals, mother pigs, are confined in Smithfield farms around the country, just living just the most miserable existence imaginable. If you think about, like, you have a dog at home and you wouldn't want your dog to be left in a kennel all day long, and you feel guilty, and rightfully so. Like, that's not great. That's not, for a dog to sit in a kennel all day long, and for these pigs, who are social creatures just like dogs, that's their entire lives. And it's just this ongoing tragedy. And I think that it's like the human mind is kind of, like one death is a tragedy, and a million deaths is a statistic, sort of a thing happens there, where you just like really can internalize like how immense that horror show truly is. But I think we have a moral obligation to do so. And that's why we take the actions like we took today, because of these evil entities, these evil corporations like Smithfield, that are doing these evil deeds. In this instance, spraying feces. It's just, you can't believe it when you hear it. I don't know what people think about, or how much people even do think about, like, wait a second, there's all these pigs, what do they do with all their manure? And it's just way more than they even know what to do with. And so they just, they spray it up into the air and kind of let the wind catch it and let it go where it goes. Whoever happens to have the misfortune of being, living nearby there, tough luck for them. But I just assume go back to the column. Yeah, go back home.
No, maybe not.
So anyway, but
I can talk for a second if you want.
Okay. But all right, bear with us here 1 second, folks. We're making our way back.
Actually, we need some privacy.
Do you guys want to step out of the car and talk about that? Step out of the car for a second. So the story just continues to get a little more interesting, if you can tell over here. So we're kind of deciding what to do, because it seems like they're and I don't want to kind of lead anyone on to something that's not going to happen, but potentially our day of action and our day of speaking up, and again, just elevating what this corporation and what the individuals that drive it are up to. It's really just getting started. So there might be something else that's happening right now, and this isn't like there might be, and there for sure is, but it looks like there actually maybe not. So anyway, that's what we're discussing right now. But if anyone's like just joining, I can give a little recap of the day. So we went to Ken Sullivan's home, and he is the CEO of Smithfield Foods, and we brought shit that was collected from a shit lagoon or a manure lagoon or whatever at one of his factory farms. That's okay for a little while. And we brought it in a 55-gallon barrel and sprayed it all over his lawn to basically emulate exactly what he does and his corporation does when they take that shit. They put it in these fertilizer sprayers and spray it in fields across North Carolina and other states that get into the neighborhoods and backyards of just poor and impoverished folks that are living near where they're spraying and near where their farms are. So that's what we did. We brought it to his house, sprayed the shit, and then Raven brought the barrel and just it's pretty heavy, full of this slush, and brought it to his kind of like walkway up to his front door and tipped it over. So all of the waste just poured over his front steps. And we're basically begging the question of if this is a practice that they are comfortable doing, if they are comfortable with it happening to themselves. It's literally one of the most like simple principles of like ethics in your life. And we'll kind of see what the response is. As we left, the police came and they were going to test whether or not the material, the liquid that we dropped off, was a biohazard or some sort of toxic content. So that's going to be a really interesting story as well that unfolds, because if it is the case that this is some sort of toxic liquid, are they going to try to hide this? Because we had 40 gallons of it, if that, and they've got millions upon millions upon hundreds of millions, I don't know, across the whole country, but they have tremendous amounts of this sludge that's just sitting out in the open all over this country. And furthermore, as we know, they are spraying it all over the place. Is there any update over there?
We're not sure. There might be something interesting happening, but I can't say more at this point.
Okay, great. Well, that's exciting. It looks like I don't know. At the end of the day, it looks like there might be some reason to celebrate. So we'll see if that happens or not. Either way we'll celebrate because I think we had a lot of good attention from this. Real quick, I wanted just to tell everyone that you can support this action and taking action against Smithfield really, really easily, and really just genuinely appreciate people that are tuning in, have some interest online, to share the live stream and write something as simple as shame on Smithfield or shame on SHITfield, and then hashtag SHITfield, shame on SHITfield. That really helps get the reach out there. It helps get the hashtag out there so that more people know about it, and it can get these hashtags to be seen by a wider audience. You can also go to DxE.io/tweet Smithfield, DxE.io/tweet Smithfield, and there's a really easy setup there to just press a couple buttons, and all the tweets are kind of ready to go for basically getting to them online. So that's the story today. A little bit of history on the cases that are going on right now with Smithfield. So I don't remember the year that they started, but it's been over the course of I believe about a decade, 29 separate cases across over 50 plaintiffs that have come forth and said that Smithfield has come into our neighborhoods with feces from their lagoons, and they probably had some sort of profit motive to do this, whether they're selling the feces or it's just their only way to dispose of so much material. And they started spraying it all over the area, to the extent of it being a significant contaminant of the air, in significant proximity to these homes, to the extent where they would, the literal feces would sometimes get on top of the houses, and residents of these neighborhoods have said that they can't leave the house anymore. It's short trips to the grocery store, but they can't sit on their porch. They're worried to even walk to their car because there's feces and manure in the air that's being sprayed, and just really, really toxic stuff. There's been counts of just respiratory illness and other. You can unplug that if you need.
Are you still on live stream?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh wow.
So yeah, just counts of respiratory illness and issues that have arose from spraying this, and over 500 people have said that this is wrong. This is a violation of my basic rights as someone who inhabits the earth, and they've sued Smithfield. In total, Smithfield has been issued judgments totaling over $500 million, over $500 million. There we go. over $500 billion, and right now they have appealed some of these judgments to the fourth, or they've just appealed these judgments, saying that the folks that are coming forth and arguing that Smithfield is doing something horrible, which they are, is an abuse of the legal system. That these people who can't leave their homes, they're too poor to move, that they are abusing the legal system by suing Smithfield and trying to get some sort of restitution from them. And it's, I mean, I don't know. I don't really think I need to kind of describe what that really feels like and what that really is, but it's just, it really is exemplary of who this corporation is. So that's why today we went to Ken's home, the CEO, and we sprayed feces on his lawn to beg the question if he genuinely thinks it's okay to go to people's properties and spray feces. And if they're cool with that, then great. But so far, it seems like they wanted to have some of us arrested and maybe even test the substance of shit that was thrown all over their yard. So it's definitely going to be really interesting to see how they play this. But I think at the end of the day, whatever they do, whether they say that this is a toxic substance, then they admit to producing a toxic substance ad libitum throughout the entire country. And if they say it's not a big deal, then I'm surprised that they're going to do that. But their actions so far have suggested that that's not the case.
Does that look like it?
Hey, can I pass this back up there?
Sure. Or if you want to talk, whatever. All right. So there you go, folks. So we're making our way back here. For any people who may have just joined us, so we have just concluded this action where we sprayed literal pig shit around the yard and the driveway, on the sidewalk, and left a barrel as a little souvenir at the home of Smithfield CEO Ken Sullivan, and Smithfield being a company that sprays feces like this just in mass quantities around the country, particularly in states like North Carolina, Virginia, and elsewhere, and they are inflicting harm on these communities, inflicting harm on animals, and they're largely getting away with it. And people like Ken Sullivan, the CEO whose house we just visited, are enriching themselves, just millions of dollars. This guy's extremely wealthy, and for what? Inflicting all this harm on something that's completely unnecessary. And they want to go to the media and say that this is we're feeding America, we're providing a vital industry, this is vital. And it's like, well, that when you feed a pig, when you feed animals, you are feeding them plants. It's a mass quantity. It takes many more pounds of plant matter to turn into a pound of animal matter. So you're not in fact producing anything, you are reducing food. I mean, to the extent that you call, these tortured individuals that are living these horrible lives that are then slaughtered and consumed, to the extent that we're, calling their flesh food, you're wasting a whole heck of a lot of food and inflicting all this harm upon these disadvantaged communities, and inflicting all this harm on the environment, being a major contributor to climate change, and breeding pandemics like the next coronavirus. These factory farms are just an absolute breeding ground for disease, which makes it really interesting when the fire department showed up today and they said they're going to be testing the material there to see if it's a toxic substance, and there may be additional charges, which will be very interesting to see, what they decide about, the fact that we have, what fraction is it? 1 millionth, 1 billionth, the amount of waste that Smithfield is generating on a regular basis that we're, putting into these, just dumping on the driveway. Raven, I want to go grab it. Do you want to talk?
Yeah.
Introduce yourself and talk about Unseen. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, the battery. Oh, sorry. Okay.
I'll be right back.
Wait. So, so we just did an action at the CEO of Smithfield Foods, Ken Sullivan's house, and to just see how, how he feels about shit being spread on your community. because that's what he's doing. That's what his company is doing. And if that's okay, then big deal. You know, nothing happened today then. But then I was charged with destruction of property. So if that's true, if dumping Smithfield's shit, because this is from a Smithfield facility, if dumping Smithfield's shit on, you know, someone's property, if that were to happen, then, you know, that would be maybe be destruction of property. You know, so if that's what Smithfield's doing, then they should be charged with destruction of property, because they're poisoning people and communities all over this country. So I'm not sure if you saw the documentary. If you're watching this, I can't see the comments, so I'm sorry, I can't see those. But if you saw the mini documentary that I made, DxE.io/unseen, then you get just a glimpse into what Smithfield is doing and how Smithfield is treating these individuals. They're treating them like objects, even though they're living, breathing, feeling beings. They're using them, they're exploiting their bodies to be impregnated and to have babies, and then they're throwing the babies away literally into dumpsters who aren't good enough for them, and then the rest of them they're killing for a profit. So that is literally their business. Their business is literally to exploit females and to kill individuals for money. So as they hear of workers getting sick and workers getting injured, how could a business like that care that their business is built on exploitation? So when they hear of communities who are suffering and people in their houses getting sick, they don't care because their business is exploitation. They just put out PR. They try to show you, you know, pictures of like a worker at work or a pretty picture of a pig on a mural, and it's not true. Go to their facilities, try to see for yourself. Hear from the workers, hear from the workers who've been sick, hear from the workers exposed to COVID at their facilities, see how their families feel to lose their loved ones. Look at your dog. If you know a dog or a cat or someone who lives with you who's not human, look at them, see how they feel. How would we feel if a company like Smithfield rounded up all of the dogs in our communities and put them in these facilities to kill them for a profit? We'd be outraged. There's no difference. They're just built on exploitation. So
I don't have a tremendous amount to add right now, but I do have a suggestion. I think that we have a really exciting opportunity to potentially expand this campaign from transforming shit fields to mango fields, because I can really say with a high degree of confidence that if we stopped eating pigs and we respected them for who they are as individuals, as those that we share the planet with, as really wonderful little beings, and we ate food like this, I think we'd be a whole lot happier.
I think you're right, Cam.
So shit fields to mango fields.
Yes.
2020.
And with full transparency, you know, it's not just Smithfield workers who are exploited in agriculture. Other workers have found themselves exploited too. So we need to pass the laws to protect workers, no matter where they are. And as long as we don't, Smithfield is going to exploit them. They're going to bring in slaves from Thailand. They're going to bring in people who are in this country just trying to make it, and they're going to exploit them because they're vulnerable. So
I mean, it's sad that, you know, it's not going to stop tomorrow. And I think that's the point, is that we're just trying to do the least that we can, or the most that we can. Make sure that it stays like, yeah, just less. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to stop unless folks get outraged.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, the CEO of Smithfield, if they were a good person, like had a, and I believe they are deep down. I think they're, you know, we haven't heard from Ken personally, but I want to believe that he didn't grow up wanting to be the CEO of a business that causes so much destruction. This is an evil corporation, and I do believe that if Ken Sullivan spoke up or decided to do something for the people, Smithfield would probably find a way to get rid of him too. Smithfield is an evil corporation. They exploit everyone. I don't think the CEO is immune to that, but he does have power. And maybe
he could make a change. Maybe he could set the company in a direction that doesn't involve killing human beings through exposing them to COVID and on-site injuries at their facilities, or animals, just killing thousands of animals every day for money. It's all for money. It's not helping anyone but Smithfield.
That's it. Oh shoot.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah, that's it. So we're starting a new campaign, and it's going to be turning SHITfield into mango fields. And for those of you that don't know, wait, hold on.
Oh my God.
For those of you that don't know, you can open a mango without actually cutting into it. So you kind of grab it here from the bottom, and you just like pinch the top. You can kind of peel the sides down, just like a banana like that. It's not as easy as a banana, but when you're on the go, I mean, these are just fantastic. So
yeah,
I mean, hopefully
this
more
is
and more.
It's kind of too that you've never seen the reality of a mango being killed or eaten.
Yeah.
No one's ever been shocked or
we're proud to
about
show
that.
you the truth of mango fields, but for whatever reason, Smithfields is just not down to show the truth of what
they know they can't show the truth because people are good people. People don't want to see killing. They don't want to see blood coming out of someone's throat. They don't want to see workers who are getting injured. So Smithfield tries very hard to hide what they're doing, but that's okay because people are now out there who are willing, eating mangoes, but who are willing to show the people the truth. Like if Smithfield won't show them, other people will show them because people deserve to know the truth. And with the power of the people, we pressure politicians to outlaw the exploitation Smithfield is doing for our communities, for the workers, and for the animals. We really don't have a lot of time left to make these changes either. It's just a matter of time before the next pandemic starts at one of these facilities. And it's going to affect the workers first. The workers who get sick right now. You talk to anyone in animal ag who's been around for a while, and they have these things called farmer's lung and things that people just pass off as an unexplained cough or an unexplained sickness. They get a fever and they
same like the animals, right? So what was it that you found when you looked at some of the charts that were in the farms about how they reported deaths of animals?
Well, we found that the USDA finds actually.
Kim, can you just say something?
Yeah, do you mind taking it for a second? Sorry, I've got to look at something.
So I can't explain it as great as Raven because she had firsthand experience, but basically found records of the inbound animals that come from the transport trucks to slaughterhouses. So when she followed a truck from Milford, Utah, Circle 4 Farms to Yosemite Foods, inside of Yosemite Foods, it basically showed, these are where these animals come from and how many animals come in each truck. So for example, one spreadsheet will show 200 individual pigs that came in, and then they'll have I think the acronym is DOA. Is that correct? Dead on arrival.
Yeah, here, I can take
so it'll be dead on arrival. These
companies, as an industry, don't tell people the truth. They rely on the end object. So they present something as an object, right? Here's an object, and they tell you, put it in your mouth. It tastes good. It's like how smoking, like the marketing around smoking was so aggressive. Smoke, it's cool, you feel good. Well, the same thing happens with meat. They tell you it's cool. They tell you, oh, just focus on how it feels when you put this object in your mouth for a few seconds, and then it's over. And they just tell you, do it over and over again. They don't tell you how it affects you. They don't tell you how it affects animals. They don't tell you how it affects workers. They don't tell you how it affects the environment. They don't tell you anything. They just want you to be conditioned and programmed to just be trained to just pick up an object, put it in your mouth, give them money, and they just want your money. That's the only thing. They don't care about you. They don't care about us. They don't care about anyone except their bottom line, which is profit. And their business wouldn't even exist unless the government propped them up with subsidies. In this industry, animal agriculture, exists only because of subsidies. Because if the actual cost of these objects were passed on in the open market, they would be so on an order of magnitude more expensive, and they would just fail. They would just fail on their own. So they have the Farm Bill.
They've got ways to like subsidize their business. So they get money from government and bailouts. They get money from consumers. They get money from the communities they exploit. They get money from the workers who they don't pay or don't give sick pay to. So then what is this object? So what they don't tell you is that these are living beings who get diseases just like us. Their bodies, especially pigs, are just like us. So they get all the same kinds of like flus and bacteria infections and all of these things, but they never talk about that. They don't want people to know. They don't want people to think about that the object they're eating could have been part of someone's body who had a disease.
I kind of don't feel like going to a restaurant.
So they never tell you that.
One car can go to a restaurant.
So what I found when I looked at the USDA paperwork is that the USDA tries to make these assurances, right? The USDA stamp is supposed to mean something, but the USDA only cares about foodborne pathogens, and they barely test for that. So if someone comes to that slaughterhouse and they have something like a flu that isn't passed through on their flesh, there's no trace of it. They don't test for it. They don't know about it. So new diseases like African swine fever, the new G4 swine flu, these are bred on factory farms that Smithfield owns, and they mutate. They have these things called it's like a recombination event where they combine with other viruses to form new novel viruses, and workers then get them. They don't always develop into human-to-human viruses, human-to-human transmission, but anyway, so these individuals have all sorts of pathogens, bacteria, viruses, because they are kept in conditions that are so unsanitary, where they are constantly injured and they're never given medical care. I've never seen a Band-Aid on a pig before. They're never given the treatment that they deserve. So the infections spread. They completely fill everyone with antibiotics, hoping that will just tamp it down long enough for them to survive until slaughter. So what you find is when you go to these facilities, is you find dead individuals and dying individuals from pathogens that are unexplained. And then when they get on the trucks, more of them die. And then they get to the slaughterhouse and more of them die. And all of these are unexplained. And the facilities and the USDA just mark them dead. They don't even, they probably wouldn't even know what to test for because some of these things are just unknown. But there's no way, we can't even do COVID testing. We can't even test everyone for COVID who we know about. Imagine testing hundreds of thousands of pigs for something that's unknown. So the individuals who make it to slaughter who are killed, their bodies get cut open. And what do they find inside? They find diseases. They find the symptoms of diseases. And so if they can visually see that these individuals had symptoms, which means like their bodies are full of inflammation, the USDA inspector goes over and kind of says like, well, that's inflammation of the heart, or that's inflammation of the abdomen, or like they have these symptoms like arthritis or something like that suggests that the individual had some disease, but that's it. They just record the symptoms. When I consulted with two swine veterinarians, they just said, yeah, these are just the sort of like symptoms that you can visually see. There's no test. It's like someone having COVID, thinking they're fine without symptoms, and like let's say a pig had COVID and they were killed, and there's no visual way to tell what they had. So these individuals, what happens is the disease, what they can see is cut out, and if there's too much, then they'll throw their entire body in the dumpster. But that's kind of expensive. They lose money doing that. So there's a pressure for them to make a profit. There's a pressure for them to sell parts of individuals who are diseased without letting people know about it. Because as long as they're not like explicitly a foodborne pathogen, that's fine. But these individuals had illness. They had disease. Their bodies had infections and all these other things. But they never talk about this stuff. And that actually surprised me. I wasn't going in there expecting any of that. So just gives you just a little bit of what they're hiding. We cannot trust this industry who's just focused on profit. They do not have our best interests to have animals' best interests at heart. They do not have communities' best interests at heart. They're there to make money. And the laws are not there to protect us. They're not there to protect the workers. They're not there to protect communities. So people are fighting back. 500 plaintiffs in North Carolina alone sued Smithfield and won cases because the law wasn't like the law isn't protecting them. They had to actually spend their own money and time to take Smithfield to court, and they won because Smithfield is in the wrong. Smithfield is doing these horrible things.
I mean, that's a really good point. Is that like, let's make sure we just keep the two of us on the live stream. It's a really good point that it took actual like litigation and legal effort for these individuals to win a judgment and fight and get some sort of attention around Smithfield and what they're doing, and that while this company is literally out on the fields and spraying shit onto their homes, it wasn't the police that showed up. There wasn't an FBI raid of Ken Sullivan's home. That the police weren't there. That the legal system was not there to protect any of the individuals and probably again the poor and the just underprivileged folks that are affected by this company. There wasn't a legal representation from them or just from any sort of law enforcement, and it took them splitting some sort of fee with an attorney and going through years of prosecution and appeals to fight this company. And it's not a system right now that is prioritizing right or wrong. It's extra efforts that folks are having to make. So I think we can maybe start to go ahead and wrap this up. But
yeah,
I think today went really, really well. I think we made a really incredible statement about bringing the horror and some of the cruelty that Smithfield is responsible for directly to the folks within the corporation that just are so distant from it and don't have the ability to personalize it. And we put pressure on them today. Ken Sullivan, the CEO of Smithfield. And overall, it just went really good. And I'm really grateful of everyone that's watching this and that's supportive and that has gone forth and shared this live stream and went to DxE.io/tweet Smithfield. It really makes an impact to get this out there. And once again, this campaign against Smithfield is literally just like at one place in its story right now. And by no means is it done. It's something that has literally escalated for dozens of years. And more and more people are just are growing up and getting interested in justice and opening their eyes to this because of activists and because of supporters, and it's just at one point in the story.
I just want to say one more thing before we go. I think we're going to wrap up here, but is that if you work with Smithfield in any way, in fact, if you work with anyone in animal agriculture in any way, we want to support you to become a whistleblower. You can do it confidentially, but you can report worker abuse and animal abuse, and any kind of abuse. If you notice dumping or pollution from Smithfield or another facility in animal agriculture, you can go to whistleblowerhelpline.com or DxE.io/whistle. That's DxE.io/whistle, and you can confidentially report what you've witnessed and that you think this is wrong. Someone should speak up, but maybe you're not in a position to do so publicly or to challenge your supervisors, because obviously a lot of people are intimidated by the organizations they work with.
You're worried about your job and your family and whatever.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think the point is that there's people that are there to support.
Yeah, so we want you to be safe. But we do want your tips. And if you go to DxE.io/whistle, you can report what you've seen, and we want to support you.
Additionally, you can look at some of the history of what whistleblowers have helped procure for bringing justice in terms of the campaign against Iowa Select Farms, in terms of creating the Unseen documentary and documenting the cruelty in Utah and in California, that the resources of folks that are activists, that give their time, and people that care, that are within and that are maybe trapped in a system that they don't want to be in, really amounts to something large. So together we can bring shit fields and turn them into mango fields.
I got a couple of comments here. One says, please remember to share. Everybody, yes?
Yes,
please share. Get the word out. We got a comment here from, also one says, excellent documentary, Raven.
Thank you.
We got that go first. We got a lot of supportive comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chase Lewis says Amy Winehouse. Is that you? That's nice. That was pretty nice.
Amy Winehouse. I just don't talk about my past anymore.
Yeah, just a lot of supportive comments. Thanks so much, everybody, for that. Thanks for checking it out. And whether you're watching on Now This or on Direct Action Everywhere, please stay tuned. Definitely more to come on the SHITfield campaign.
Yes, as long as these companies are built on exploitation and they're exploiting communities, workers, and animals, people are going to start standing up. And workers aren't going to tolerate it anymore. They deserve better. Animals deserve better. Communities deserve better. The public deserves better. So you got to pick a side. You know, either you're for the future or you're for the past. And we know what Smithfield's done in their past, and we don't think it's right. So thank you so much for watching.